Go to your thing.
So we should be live now, and we'll just wait for some people to come and make sure that they can hear us okay and all that good stuff.
Go to your thing.
Okay, so our video seems to be live, and we'll wait for someone to find the video, and then we'll and then they can let us know if they can hear us and if they can use the chat, all that important stuff. I know it's going to take a few minutes for people to fill in because we didn't have it saved like usual, but I imagine people will slowly start to come in. Hey, Joe. Hey, Golduck. Hey, E. Hey, you say booyah. Nice to see you all. Thrifty. Octavio, I recognize all of your usernames. So we are here today with, as you can see, with PokeGal, the wonderful PokeGal. PokeGal and I guess, I first became aware of you. We were sort of both making videos. I saw you make a video kind of about scams or about some concerning things you were seeing in the hobby. And I was similarly like making a very similar video at the exact same time. And so I remember we sort of got in contact around then. We were both concerned and hearing stories of people who were spending lots of money and overspending on, particularly with like pack openings, online pack openings and certain streamers that we were concerned about. So that was how we kind of first met. Since then, we've been, I think, involved in similar circles like Sagar's channel. I know you've become very involved there and have been involved since the beginning of his experience, at least on YouTube. And you introduced me to him, and that's why I had him in on, for that interview. So I think this is overdue. So it's nice to have you on here.
Thanks, and thanks for having me. If someone please in the chat, let me know if you guys can hear me. That would be great. I am very new. I'm not tech savvy whatsoever. So if someone in the chat will let me know they can hear me, that would be great.
I can hear you well, which is a good sign, probably.
Okay, so that's great. But yeah, it's nice to finally be but be a guest on your live stream. I'm pretty excited. I love the live stream. And so yes, I did make that video just having a lot of concerns for the Pokemon community. And the reason why is that I've been a long-time collector, even though I'm not very active on social media or just YouTube. But just based on some of the videos that you've created, I totally agree with what you said. And I see that because a lot of the collectors, or not the collectors, but the people that eventually participate in those live streams, they would come up to me and just ask me, I'm not making any money. What's going on? Yeah. And the thing is that because that's not how to make money. And that's where I think, and you made a video about this, and that's great. And it's all about being an ethical seller. And what I do for a line of work, especially with finance, and that's where, and completely just buying into Pokemon cards and investing in Pokemon cards, that's where I saw the problem lies. Is just, it's not how you really should invest. And the person that made or makes the most money is the person that's opening the packs for you. And that's where I saw a lot of the problems in the Pokemon community, just bringing in new collectors. So I made that video, and I decided just to be more, just like you, just have some, eventually do some broadcast. And But other than that, um,
Yeah, I mean, my impression of
mhm,
you is just like you really cared about people in the community. You were upset about the idea of people not being able to collect, what they
mhm,
want to collect because they've
mhm,
wasted money somewhere or spent a lot more than they had to. That was happening a lot where people were selling people slabs on these streams for more than the price was on eBay, and
correct.
just giving a lot of like really misleading
Absolutely.
unresearched information. And people who didn't know a lot about Pokemon or were brand new to Pokemon were giving
Hmm.
investment advice to other
Hmm.
people who were brand new who didn't know any better. And they were talking about themselves like they knew everything about the whole market and about the cards. And so that was my issue. So anyone who
Correct.
is starting a stream and is new to Pokemon is like, I'm new to this. I'm figuring it out along with you. I have no problem with like new people, obviously, giving advice and talking to other people. But it's when you say that you have lots of experience or you've made a lot of money or that you know a lot about all the cards and you kind of misrepresent yourself. And so
Hmm.
people, you know, take your word as some expert. That's where it got murky. And I think people were calling themselves experts or were appearing experts to gain clout and so that people
Hmm.
would watch their channels and give them money and that sort of thing. And that was the process that was concerning to me. So it looks like people are saying sound is good.
Oh, great.
So
Great.
um
Um, Great. Exactly. And you can just tell by some of these streamers that they just, I think they're just opening packs just to sell them for, to get their expert advice. But I don't agree with most of the things that are said with this streamer or just some streamers out there.
yeah,
Um, but exactly what you said that video, because a lot of people are pouring a lot of money into this. And
yeah,
in the end, a lot of people are hurt. And in that video that I said that, and it's quite upsetting to me that the Pokemon community has actually been very quiet about this. But I think it's because they are invested in this as well, and it does help them in the end.
yeah,
But that's just how I feel. And saying things like this makes me sound like a very negative person. But I just think that if we all collectively help each one of each other, I think it will be better because we need collectors to stay. And when new collectors are not, they're very misguided, they will leave because
yeah.
the people that I have talked to, they have left. They said, I'm burnt out. They will not open any more packs. They left. Um, but anyways, we do have questions.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And I think that it's, I don't see that as negative at all. I see it as like caring about people. I think
yeah.
that there are some people who misconstrue it as negative in
Uh-huh.
sort of an honest way. And then there are some
Hmm.
people who call it negative in a very dishonest way because they just want to make profit and they want everything to go up. And anyone who says anything negative about prices or that things might be inflated, they are angry at that and get upset at that because
Hmm.
they're here primarily to make money, for selfish interests. It's the reality. Now there are other people who I think misconstrue it as uh you know, anti-success is one thing I've gotten, that I'm anti people's success.
Yeah,
And it's
exactly.
not that at all. And I think I could, probably speak for both of us on it. It's like we want Pokemon to succeed. We want everyone
Yes,
in the world to love
exactly.
Pokemon and be here.
Exactly.
So
And
it's a misunderstanding of where
exactly.
we're coming from.
And I have seen it all. I was a person that paid. I was telling a lot of people that joined my live stream that I was the person that paid $27 a pack for Generations, and I was the person that was buying from Verbank. I still like Verbank, by the way, the Pokemark. I was the person that was paying $27 a pack for Generation. I was the person that was in line when Generation at GameStop came out.
Yeah.
So I did buy into the hype. And about 2 weeks later, reprint after reprint, it went down to $9. And I went, oh my God. And that's when I've learned to be patient. I've learned not to buy into the hype. I've
Yeah.
learned, yeah, and especially what I do now for a living, that's very critical. So I've learned just to be very patient. Um, and then the prices dropped about to $2 at my local card shop. So I was the person that was paying from $27 to $2. And this is back then where the hype was there and then it died down and it died down. And as Rudy from Alpha Investment, he said it will die down. And when it does die down, it died down very, very fast.
Yeah.
And so I do have concern for that as well.
Yeah,
But
these things happen in cycles.
mm-hmm,
And so what happens is if you're not
exactly.
aware that markets work in cycles, you can
Mm-hmm,
get completely obliterated by a down
mm-hmm,
cycle and then not have
mm-hmm.
enough money or just be so angry and irritated by Pokemon that you're not going
Yeah.
to want to be a part of it anymore. And then you're not going to
Mm-hmm.
benefit from the next upcycle, from the next boom, boom period
Yeah.
that will
Correct.
likely happen as long as the hobby doesn't die completely. Some hobbies do die completely. I don't see that happening for Pokemon, certainly anytime soon. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm,
an unbelievable boom. So many people love it and are rediscovering their love for Pokemon. So
mm-hmm.
I would guess that, after corrections, we're going to see another, period of growth. But in the process, a lot of people are going to be shocked and hurt by,
Yes.
by retraces and things like that. So,
Yeah.
so I am going to, one new thing we're doing on these
Okay.
Sunday chats is I started a Patreon.
Yeah, I heard.
Uh,
Congrats.
Thank you. And so I got just a few questions from Patreon members that I want to start with today. And we're going to sort of
Okay.
start what I'm doing basically. And for those who are watching and may not know already, my Patreon members are going to start kind of each live off with asking me just a few questions that I'm going to do a little bit of thinking and research beforehand to provide maybe a better answer than I usually would be able to just live on the spot. So, today you'll get the benefit from hearing both PokeGal and I touch on these questions. If you don't want to touch on the question, PokeGal, because you weren't aware of these questions beforehand, don't feel the need to. I'm going to start with each one and then we'll just do a regular live chat and get into the chat and see what's going on. All righty.
Sure.
Okay. So the first question, and I'm not going to say people's names because I'm not sure that they want to be identified. Next week, if people do want to be identified for some reason as a patron, I can do that, but I don't want to, put anyone on the spot. So I'm just going to read the questions. So first question is, I was hoping to hear your opinion about the only reverse back holo card in existence. So I think the card that they're referring to is that exchange please card. Do you know what that card is, PokeGal? It's a pretty obscure card.
No, I'm looking at it right now. Actually, I'm Googling it right now.
What's interesting about this card is that
Mm-hmm.
the back is hollow instead of the front. And it's the only card to my knowledge that has that. So here again, just like my lenticular Deoxys video, like there are these very interesting kind of one-off old historic, cool, hand-drawn artwork. There are a lot of cards like that in the hobby that even people who've been in the hobby forever, don't necessarily know because there are so many. And that's the thing. Or we forget about them. We saw them once and then we, there are 100 other promos over here. So my thoughts on that exchange, please. So as I was saying, yeah, super cool, super unique. I myself only own one of that card. It was not a card that I felt like I needed to get a lot of just for me personally, because it wasn't like a childhood card that I connected to. But to me, particularly those like unique type cards, I at least want to own one of each of those at the time in high grade. They were always pretty expensive back then. That card has not grown in price as much as a lot of other cards in the hobby. It's really doubled to tripled at most in price in a year, which seems like a ton of money. But when we think about lots of other cards in the hobby, it's gone up a lot more. I think if that card had more awareness and more people were talking about it, because no one ever talks about it, another example of a card that there would be more interest in. So are you looking at a picture of it, PokeGal? What do you think of it?
I can't find it for some weird reason.
Oh,
I thought that was it, but it wasn't. So
Exchange Please, it's called.
I called.
Maybe I said the wrong name to you initially. Should be able to find it. There's almost.
Oh, it's 1999, Japanese.
I believe it was 1998. Yeah, offhand. Yes, 1998. And if you type it like,
okay, you're right. I'm sorry, it's 1998. Yeah.
And there's like an exclamation point at the end of it, and it has that cool drawn artwork, a hand drawn artwork with a polywag or a polywhirl. Can't tell. It's too small of a picture I have here. And a weeping bell.
I do see it.
So what do you like? So someone who hasn't seen this card, what is your first impression? Give us your first impression of, do you like these types of hand-drawn cards? Check out the back, that interesting hollow back pattern. Super weird. I think super interesting.
That's really nice. It reminds me of that card that I got outbid the last minute. It was the Trade Me card that I wanted for the PSA 10. I did not know this. This is great.
So this card always had a little bit of a premium over a lot of the other promos from that time period because of that hollow back. It really stood out. 1998, super old, super old for Pokemon. That. What else can I tell you guys about this? Talking a little bit about pop reports on it. It has 85 10s, 78 9s, and 32 8s. So not the most difficult card in the world to grade when you have, most 10s versus like the lenticular Deoxys that we talked about last time, where the most of that grade were actually 8s. But definitely not an automatic 10. And as we all know, PSA is probably grading harder now than it used to. So some of these cards that have been graded forever might also swing a little bit more 10 than they will in the future if more and more are graded. This card is going for about $200 to $300 in PSA 10 for a while, about a year ago, around that, a little over a year ago. And now I think the most recent sales around 700. There are a couple at 700. So considering huge exponential growth we've seen on certain things, not the most crazy growth on this. The issue with this card will be awareness, and it's so niche and that people don't talk about it. But that's the type of stuff that I think is more likely to retain its value and also be sought after and collected by collectors and not flippers, which I think is all really good for good for like those cards to retain value. What are your thoughts, PokeGal, on do you like hand-drawn art in general? Like, do you like some of the vending series cards? Are you a fan of that type of hand-drawn art?
I do. I like more of with Pokemon when they have more of the clay animation. I do like that a lot. Yeah. I'll be very honest. I am not a huge Japanese collector.
Oh yeah,
I lean towards more of English and a lot of seal products that I have. And I also wish that I would grade some of my PSA cards, but throughout the years of collecting, instead of putting the money to getting the cards graded, I just went out and just buy collections. So I have sent out about 8,000 Wizard of the Coast Hollow to PSA, and I think only 100 of them are Japanese hollows or just other promos. So I'm not a huge Japanese collector, but I love learning this. So I'm looking at myself and learning this with you guys. So I think that's amazing.
I mean, the vast majority of people in the hobby won't know what this card is. You know, even people who've been here a long time, because it's such a niche card. And particularly if vintage Japanese isn't your focus. Do you like English promos, or do you prefer set cards generally? PokeGal.
More set cards. The English promo, if I like the art, I usually would go out and purchase it. But with more any type of promos, I lean towards any type of Pikachu promos. I was very lucky that I bought the whole set, and I said it in one of my videos, the Pikachu videos, that I bought all those Mario Pikachus and all the promos for that. I bought it back then when it was only like $10. I bought a PS10. I think I have it in the back. One second. Let me see.
You got a nice sealed booster box collection going on there in the back.
Thanks. I'm a sealed collector. If you guys check out my Instagram, I have a lot of sealed stuff. So back then, this was on eBay for $21, a PSA 10.
Wow.
And I got this for $21. And
whoa, I didn't even know it was that low. That's a steal.
You know, it was $21 for $21. And then back then in Burbank, I bought the whole set for like $85. It's absolutely nuts. But look at the prices went up. So
what year is that from?
Let me see. 2015. So 5 years.
Okay. Yeah. So that would have been before I came into the hobby.
6 years. Yeah.
By the time I came into the hobby around 2017, I think that was about $80-ish. So that's when I was buying them. Of course, now $80 is also an amazing price point, but it's not $20 back when it first came out. That's amazing.
Yes. Someone did offer me like $30. I remember this when it happened. This person just Googled it, says, "Hey, I'll give you $30. It's 21 on eBay." And I said, "No, I'll pass." But I'm glad. I'm glad.
I also love that Charmander behind you with the hat. It's adorable. Alrighty. Next, so let me get through. Let's do I think there are 3 or 4 questions, and then we can give the chat some attention. Sorry, chat. I hope you guys are hanging out and talking and commenting to each other while I'm doing this. Okay, next question here. Let's see. Okay. So if you owned a Lugia first edition PSA 9, would you sell it at current prices? I absolutely don't need the money and I have no liquidity issues, but I am pretty hesitant that prices for Lugia's rookie card will increase any further in the short term. I'd rather sell the card and move the money into something more conservative like equities in my personal account for potentially higher gains, since I think Pokemon is due for a crash. Or maybe even move half of the funds into something more traditional, but keep the rest in the hobby. As a collector, I absolutely love the card and it brings a lot of nostalgia, but I think at current prices, given the recent spikes due to the PSA 10 card selling for record-breaking amounts, it's ridiculous. I bought the card back when it was 200-ish, so it's a 25 times return already. The risk, of course, is that I sell it and would never be able to get it back. Yeah, such a great question. I am going through the exact same issue. I also am thinking of selling the PSA 9 first edition Lugia and have been for a while, ever since that $129,000 sale. I knew I should have sold it right then into that hype, but it's one of my favorite cards and I just don't want to sell it because it's part of my collection. I didn't buy it to ever sell that card. I bought it to keep. So it creates this difficult issue of what to do, what is financially responsible versus what do you want to do as a collector. You know, if we take it from the financial perspective, and I knew this at the time, I knew that I should sell, you know, at that $130K price, because the $130K price, $130,000 for the PSA 10 was so much higher than it had ever sold before. I didn't even think that it was going to retain that. You know, even in the short term, even if there wasn't any correction in the market, I thought that auction in particular was probably much higher than the next auctions would be, even without even without a retrace. I think a lot of people had that thought and that feeling. So that would have been a good time to sell it. Now we've had, I wouldn't call them retraces on the card because I don't view them as retraces, honestly. But it's now sold for like 90,000 in PSA 10, which is still a humongous amount for that card. And I think it sold in the 70s maybe as well, for a 10 on PWCC, something like that. So what I would say to you is that a 25 times investment on your money in this Pokemon market is the highest any card is going for. That's like the top echelon of returns that people are seeing. I have 25 times returns on, and this is just for cards that you bought graded and are selling graded in the past year and a half. Because I have cards I bought raw graded myself that have a much bigger than 25 times return. But if we're just talking about the return on the cards, 25 times is humongous. It's a huge, huge, huge return. The average return in vintage is around 5 times. Okay. So if you're 25 times, it means that the Lugia has grown much, much, much more than a majority of the other vintage cards. So you have to think to yourself, is that because Lugia in particular was such an undervalued Pokemon as the Charizard of Neogenesis, or is that card really overinflated and some of the other and it's going to come back, or are the other cards, undervalued in those sets and they should come up? And I don't have the answers to that, unfortunately. Just by your question, I know you're thinking in a really smart way. and the honest truth is there isn't an answer. There isn't an obvious answer to that type of dilemma. We're all, lots of people are in the same dilemma. What I like is that the numbers, and the one piece of info I can give you is that 25 times turn versus the 5 times return. So I am not selling anything that has not gotten to a 5 times return in my collection in particular, because I think a lot of those items are undervalued right now relative to the rest of the market and likely won't correct as much if the market corrects. But items that are quite a bit over, and I think are likely going to be oversaturated with new cards, those are the ones that I'm selling. The thing with Lugia is there is not a lot of Neogenesis. That card has always been graded because it's always been loved, and the pomp reports are not going up that much and may not go up that much. So your question about will I be able to get that back is a really good one and a really important one. And I just don't have the answer for you, unfortunately. I think it's risky to hold it. And the safe move is probably to sell into the hype and put that in a less risky thing financially. And I think financially that would be the prudent move, to be completely honest with you. But as a collector and lover of the cards, I totally get that there's that fear of like, I may never get it back. And even if I make money on these stock investments that I might do with it or somewhere else, I'm not gonna, it's not gonna feel good because I'm gonna have to buy that card back at a higher valuation, or I'm not gonna be able to buy that card back at all because none of them are gonna come on the market, that sort of thing. So those are my thoughts on that. Sorry, PokeGal, long-winded rant there.
No problem. I love the answer. Thank you.
What do you think? Are you a collector of like vintage stuff too? Do you like Neogenesis?
Oh yeah, I have a couple of complete sets that I actually sent to PSA.
Nice.
And yeah, like I said, I never really graded cards back then. When I was collecting, I was actually using the funds that I had just to buy two collections. Hello, Jake? Hello? That's weird. I can't hear Jake now. That's strange. Hello? Can you guys hear Jake? Because I can't hear him at all. Yeah, I thought so. Okay, so I thought it was me. No, I know. Oh no, we lost Jake. Oh yeah, he froze. You know what? Let me message him on a Zoom. Quick second. It's my show now. How funny is that? Jake doesn't want to pay for better internet. That's funny.
Okay.
Okay,
All
I
right.
hear him now.
I'm
He
having some
froze.
lag issue on my computer, so I just closed everything. Hopefully that'll help. Sorry about that.
They said that you didn't pay the internet bill. He's like, I see Jake blinking. Okay, I think it works now.
Can people hear me again?
They're saying that you should sell your Lugia for better internet. Oh, that's funny. Okay.
All right.
There you go. I
Sorry.
think you're back
So
now.
I'm back. So what were you saying before I rudely interrupted you by my computer freezing?
No, not at all. Not at all. I was saying that was funny. The comments are funny. That all the allocated funds that I have just went towards buying collections. So I think I purchased about 300 collections throughout my time of just collecting Pokemon cards. And I actually don't regret that whatsoever because I knew about PSA grading. I just did not um I just didn't grade cards back then. And I just spent the time. That's why I have so many Wizard of the Coast cards. But just a great input on that question that he asked. Um, I think what you answer is correctly because I know somebody who sold her PSA 8 Charizard first edition, and she sold it for 8,000. 8,000. And I think she said it on one of my live streams. She sold it for 8,000. And then within 2 weeks, it went up to 14,000, I believe, or 12,000. And that's when she says, I regret it. But at that time, I needed to make that sell. At that time, it was a great idea. I don't regret the decision I made. I only spent about $800 on that card. My investment, my rate of return is basically much higher. So she made money, although she did regret it waiting for 2 weeks. She did not regret because she said in the end I only paid 800 for that. So that's it. So there's always a risk, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. You know, and we all have stories like that. You know, of selling a card either because we really needed the money or just we thought can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
A little bit more robotic, but I can hear you.
Yeah, or just selling a card because we really feel like it's going to go down in value, or we can put that money elsewhere and we'll be able to buy it back when the price gets lower, and then it doesn't. So I think in this environment, there's a lot of risk either way, which is what makes it so hard to make those decisions. There's a risk that card will retrace a lot. There's also a risk that card will go up a lot. It's not like a year ago, for those of you who are here will know this, we had about, a 2-year calm, steady period in the market where if you wanted to sell a card, you could probably get it back for not too ridiculously of a different price the next month. And so if you needed the money or you weren't sure if you wanted it, you could sell it and then have a really good chance of buying it back at around the same price. Now, if you hold a card, you might lose thousands of dollars, or if you hold a card or sell a card, you might not be able to buy it again or not afford it. And so it creates a lot of chaos, and that further increases these price swings and the sort of like difficult kind of irrational emotional decisions we're all making. So I think it just goes back to the importance of not leveraging yourself on credit, keeping yourself in a good financial situation. So whatever your cards decide to do, understand that by holding that card, you're taking a large gamble, a large financial gamble that could pay off. It could go up a lot. It might go down quite a bit. So as long as you're okay with that, I wouldn't sell it. I've not sold mine yet, so I probably won't be. For me, generally, when the hype hits, I try to make a decision. Do I sell? Am I going to sell, or am I going to hold through the whole thing and see where it's at the end of it? And for most of my collection, I made a decision I'm going to hold the whole way. The only things that I really sold very actively were my unlimited card, base set cards, things like that. The common, uncommon, first edition cards that I had many copies of in PSA 10, because I knew from my friends that they were grading so many of those that I saw everyone hyping up base set unlimited, and that, talk about humongous growth. That Charizard, when I sold my PSA 9 unlimited Charizards, most of them around the $6,000, $5,000, $6,000 mark, they came all the way back down to 1,500. Now they're coming back up again. When I sold them at that high price, oh my gosh. When I sold them at that high price to make a decision, I was looking at that return rate to make a decision on whether or not I should sell that card. And I bought those cards at around $250 each a year and a half ago or so, $250 to $350 each. And that return rate, $250 to $350 to $6,000, was so much more than everything else vintage that for me, I sold those and then put that money in other vintage, put that money in Dragon Ball Z, which I felt like had much, much better fundamentals and was really fun, and I was enjoying it. And then when the prices came down to around the 1,500, 16, 1,700 mark, it got back to that sort of 5-6 times evaluation that to me made sense for most cards in the vintage market. And that's how knowing prices on everything and really being engaged helps you determine probably where there is a little bit of like artificial overinflated hype. Why is this card going for so much more than it ever did before? Is it because every YouTuber is talking about it? If it is, might be some danger there in terms of it holding that type of value long term. But in the short term, no one can predict these things. So it's all about, I could have sold those Charizards at 6,000 and then they could have first gone to 12,000 before dipping. Anything, so although it ended up working out very well, I could have gotten unlucky.
Yeah.
And a ton of money. So it's why I don't like investing or doing that way. I like buying things at valuations that I think are good within the current market and things that I believe will be more valuable in 10 to 20 years than they are now, or have a very good chance of achieving that sort of thing. Yes. So, okay. So we've got a couple more questions here that we'll go through, and then we'll go to the chat here. Let's see. Hi, Jake and Rafi. Thanks for putting this together and for all the great content so far. One thing I'd really like to learn your opinion about is cross grading and cracking slabs. This is an interesting concept to me, and I'd love your take on it. I thought I heard on your channel that if you crack a slab, you should send the case to the grading company to clear it from the pop report. I wonder if this always happens, and see a lot of other channels throughout the idea of cracking slabs so much that wouldn't this artificially increase the pop reports quite a bit? Would just like to hear more on this topic, the considerations, and maybe why it seems so encouraged by other channels. What are your thoughts on that, PokeGal? Have you ever done any slab cracking or trying to play that game?
No, I barely grade. I will let everybody know because I'm planning to make a video when 8,000 of my cards come back. But I have seen a lot.
Epic.
Yeah,
that will be
exactly. Epic. And the Cat's Meowth has about 1,000 cards at PSA.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty excited for that when it comes back. Eventually, I got into the grading game. But I've seen a lot of people have done that, and Squeaks Gaming recently made a video where someone got a CGC 10 cross graded with a Beckett and got a black label, and I saw that. But I think that's such a risk that I probably would not do. If I'm gonna stick to PSA, I'm gonna probably just keep the slab. I think that's just way too risky. If someone wants to do that, go them. I know a lot of people will consider doing that. That they'll buy a card from CGC and they'll cross grade it with PSA. And Royalty Game has done it for a couple of people and has paid off. But that's just something that I just don't dive into yet.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm banning a guy from chat. I'm getting spammed something just to ban some guy who just keeps saying.
You should have a moderator.
I know I should. Honestly, I've been so impressed by my chats. Like, we've almost never needed one because people are usually respectful. But yeah, sometimes these guys decide to do this for some reason. It's like, I feel bad for the guy. I mean, maybe he's having fun, and I guess that's cool that he's having fun, but it's pretty weird to like ruin, a lot of people's enjoyable time.
Yeah. And in the end, it's all speculative investment. Everybody has an opinion and it's pure subjective. There's no need to be aggressive about it. That's just my opinion. So I think they're just going back and forth and just based on opinion. So
Jody, I'm adding you as a mod because I see you said that you'd be happy to be a mod just in case, just for today, just in case if someone does that again while we're talking and answering questions. All right. Thank you for being willing to do that. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jody. I really appreciate that because I saw that it was a little bit distracting as well because I try to read the comments.
Yeah. Yeah. So, for the slab stuff, I think that there is definitely a number. You mostly are going to see it with 9s where there are artificially high number of PSA 9s because people try and crack the 9s to get 10s, but you're going to see it across a lot of cards. But historically, there are some cards that had such a huge premium to like get the 10 over the 9 because there were so many 9s and so few 10s. And so strong 9s would get cracked out again and again and again, trying to get the 10. Because, for example, like the T17, the Typhlosion from Genesis, if you can get that in a 10, you're making, many, many, many more times your money than the 9. Probably, we're talking at least, I don't know, 25,000 versus, 2005. You're getting at least 10 times probably, more. On that card if you can get it in a 10. So it provides that incentive to crack it again and again and again.
Yeah. I did set that in and mine has a huge print line, so I know that's probably going to be 8 or a 9, probably an 8. So
they also grade that card so hard. Like the expensive cards, they tend to, like the ones that have low 10 pops, they tend to just like also, I feel like, grade them harder than other cards too.
I'm positive on that.
Yeah. But even at an 8, that's awesome, that you have a really nice, because the 8 is worth a fortune still. Yeah. And then you say, so why it seems so encouraged by other channels? It's definitely a way that you can make money if you're good at it, but it's quite a, particularly when you have to wait a while to get your card back. And, there's always risk that first of all, you're going to damage the card if you crack open the case, which is scary. If you try and plier it open or crack it and then, one of the pieces of plastic like gashes the card, you're going to be an unhappy person. So there's that risk. Yeah. There's the risk of like the grader damaging it. There's the risk of getting a lower grade. So I think that I would only do it if there's a humongous upside and I felt very confident. The other thing is like, do you send it in the same grade just for a regrade in the case, or do you crack it to send it in is the debate. And often people land on the side of you should crack it because if they see that it already got a 9, why would they give it a 10? Or they'll be more likely to give it a 9 versus cracking it and sending it in raw and then hopefully getting that 10. So, but yeah, there's the answer is that there's no way to know We do not know how many extra 9s, 8s there are in the pop. But there definitely are going to be those, particularly on vintage. I know there are trophy cards, like my Tropical Wind, my PSA 9 Tropical Wind. There, I think there are like 15 or so probably of those Tropical Winds. I know that my thing keeps going out, so I repeat what I say. It gives me an error message on my screen.
It does. That's a lot. I do. Yeah, it does. You kind of cut out in and out, but yeah.
But yeah. So with that card, I know there was one dude that I've heard that sent it in 3 or 4 times to try and get it a 10. So even though there are 15 of that card in the 9, there aren't 15 of those cards in the world. There are less. So it's that sort of thing, but nobody knows. And there isn't a system unless they put some sort of like chip in it that could like determine if it was cracked or something and then remove it from the registry. I don't know, some tech thing they could eventually develop, which would be interesting. Okay. Couple more questions and then we will get to the chat. Hey Jake, I wanted to ask you what your thoughts are when it comes to collecting Japanese level X cards. Raw, they're still quite cheap. I can find them for $5 to $20 ungraded, depending on the card, and have been buying some. However, most of the raw copies I find, even the ones described as mint, have some issues that I believe hold them back from becoming 10s. I've talked to other card graders I know, and they told me they've had difficulty grading them as well. So my question to you, if you were in the position of wanting to complete a PSA 10 set of these, would you keep buying the cheap raw cards and submitting them hoping to get a 10? Or would you pay the couple $100s that many of these cards are going for as 10s and slowly build the collection that way? Level X's were my childhood cards, so I'd love to get them all as 10s, but I'm unsure on which path would be the best option. What are your thoughts on Level X cards, PokeGal?
For Japanese, I don't really collect any Japanese. I have a couple of Level X cards that I sent. Actually, I'm sorry. I have a lot that are sent out. They're really nice. I am more of a diversity collector. I collect them all. I don't really have a particular favorite set. Maybe EXs back then with Deoxy, but other than that, not a very particular, more a Pacific set collector. But other than that, I'm very diversified. I think I lean towards more of EXs.
What are your favorite cards from the EX era? Do you like the EX holo cards, like the gold stars, the regular holos, all of it, all of the above?
No, I actually really like the stamp cards, the reverse holo stamps cards. Those are actually my favorites. I know. That's what I really like. But other than that,
those are so cool because they have the set name on them, which makes them really unique.
They are. They are.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite card that you can think of from those sets?
Probably what I was talking to Hisuka, he said, and I actually did like this card. I don't have it in a PSA 10. He does, and he was talking about a little bit about this. Is the Miloic EX card, and I think the pop that he mentioned was pop 10 on that card. I did set mine in for that. I don't think it's a 10, but the way that card looks is actually pretty nice. But yeah,
it's a beautiful card.
It is, and Leafeon and Glaceon on the Level X was there too. Some of them that I did sent out, so I'm pretty excited for that.
Yeah, those Leafeon and Glaceon Level X's are phenomenal.
Yeah.
So for the Japanese Level X, it's tough. I don't know how to value Japanese cards versus English cards because the market has no idea, in my opinion, what it's doing with Japanese and English. It seems like some eras, Japanese is like almost as expensive as English or only a little bit less. There are other eras where it's a lot cheaper than English. I don't know where the market is going to, unfortunately, find a resting point with all of that. So that just adds risk. It's just something I'm watching closely. So unfortunately, I can't comment on that part of it too much. When you're thinking about the difficulty to grading, these are very difficult cards to grade, generally speaking, particularly as
Mm-hmm.
compared to modern and ultra modern. So trying to buy raw cards, getting them graded, and then trying to get those 10s, you may have to buy a lot of cards before you find 10s that you can actually get graded. Now, I would guess that there are still quite a bit of Japanese 10 level X's out there, because level X's only recently have really been getting a lot hotter in the last couple of months. And I think it's mostly the English that has probably received most of the attention and most of the people trying to buy them. So, making connection with Japanese sellers, people in Japan, trying to find and source raw gem mint copies. You probably could do it if you put the work and you reach out to some Instagram, Japanese sellers and things like that, which would be something I would look at doing. The prices on the Japanese ones, I don't know. I was seeing them sell like 50, 200, 300. Ooh, mic dropped, depending on the card. So it's the other thing you can do is that you can buy them raw and grade them. And then if they come back at 9, you can sell them to recoup your cost. So it might take you a lot longer to do it that way, but that might be a much cheaper way to do it, as long as you also want to do the work of selling those cards. So I think it has to do with your preference, whether you want to just outright buy the 10s or buy try to buy them raw and grade them. It's going to be tough to get a full 10 set of all. It's tough to get a full 10 set of level X's anyway, let alone doing it by grading them yourself these days. But it would be a fun project, and if you want to do it over a few years or 5 to 10 years, I would assume it's something that would probably be doable. So, great question.
I was talking to Hisuka, and he said that to complete his PSA 10 level, the EXs, I think he has spent more than 60,000 to complete that slowly throughout the years.
Yeah.
So do take that into consideration. To complete a set with PSA 10, it might take a lot of time and more like a financial. If you can't project yourself to see, if you don't have the financial means to do that, I would probably consider getting a PSA 9, going there. So
definitely. Yeah, PSA 9, beautiful cards. Generally there's like a little tiny speck of white on the back, and they have like perfect or almost perfect fronts. Yeah. All right, so we've got looks like 2 more questions. Jake, first of all, thank you for spending time on the channel. I can't imagine, said a bunch of nice things to me. I appreciate it. The question is, I would like to hear your thoughts on this topic from a social psychological perspective. Okay, so this could be a good topic for us to discuss a little bit. What are your thoughts on the relationship between QE, which is quantitative easing, stimulus, unemployment benefit, increase in the low income population, and the innate allure of gambling that all of us ape brains have to a certain degree? Pokemon pack opening hits the sweet dopamine spot.
Oh, that's such a great question.
Yeah, we could
talk about that. The floor is yours on that. And I definitely have a couple of things to say, but definitely the floor is yours on that first. That's how we met. So definitely the floor is yours on that first. That's such a great question.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, there's so much like in this question. So the first thing I'm going to say is I've been trying to figure out what is going on with the world, as a lot of people have, for the past 8 months in general, way out. And this was way, way, way outside of Pokemon, but of course affects Pokemon, in terms of, what is happening with what is all the money printing going to do? What is the debt growing going to do? What is the fact that the Fed refuses basically to let the country correct? Is just going to keep interest rates low, seems so hell-bent on causing another extremely massive bubble, in my view, that's going to cause another huge problem for the economy. I'm of a belief that you have to let things fail and you have to let markets correct. And so this is where people have accused me of being a leftist, but this is very capitalistic. And this is, I'm not, I'm tend to have very moderate politics. But for me, you have to let markets correct, because if markets cannot go up forever. And when you continue to pump money, when you continue to keep interest rates at zero, when you continue to do quantitative easing, and you take all of these measures to keep every company in business, to keep everyone afloat, to keep everyone in their jobs, it just doesn't work. And I get where it comes from. It comes from a fear of the bubble, and the fact that whenever bubbles pop, people lose their jobs and lots of bad things happen and lots of people struggle. What's really bad and what really sucks is it tends to be the poor people that take the brunt of all of that, while the wealthy people are able to basically survive it and then on the next bubble become even stronger. So every time this cycle happens, there's wealth redistribution, basically from the working class people in this country to the upper class. But you cannot just artificially hold everything up forever. We've had a serious issue this year. The economy shut down. And that was on top of that. We never really let things collapse in 2002, 2007, 2008 as a company. We bailed everything out. We bailed out all these companies. So I'm concerned there could be a really massive bubble that hits us at some point. For me, the name of the game is risk and trying to prepare and get your family in a situation. And I know this is a really heavy topic, and we talk about Pokemon finance, but for me, and I'm not a financial advisor here, but for me, where I'm coming from just personally in my own life, is things seem unsustainable. There's a lot of odd, manipulation, huge, crazy prices on things that make no sense all over the place. Every hobby you look at the stock market, there's so much irrational exuberance and optimism about certain things. It scares me. And so for me, the answer though is where do you put your money? What do you do? How do you prevent risk? If you keep it in cash, then are you putting it at risk for inflation? Right? If you put it in Bitcoin, are you putting yourself at huge risk because that's maybe extremely overinflated and it's going to crash 90%, which absolutely could happen, because of the extreme rise. Now, I think Bitcoin is great fundamentally, as an idea, as a concept, and I could see after a crash, it coming back stronger than ever, but there's so many hopes and dreams. Everyone is trying to get rich. And the Fed, instead of letting good ideas succeed and bad ideas not succeed, is trying to just keep everything up all the time and everything inflated all the time. And it's scary because at the end of the day, I think the people who are going to get hurt are the middle class and the lower class and us regular people. And that to me, rather than just letting things fail and recorrect in small ways, we're letting things grow so big that they massively have to recorrect. But if you plan accordingly, you need to be in a position where you don't have to sell your assets and where you're not in debt. That's the key thing I would say. And again, I'm not a financial advisor here, but if you can be cash rich enough and not be in a position where you have to sell your cards or you have to sell your stocks or you have to sell, I think that the U.S. economy will be back stronger than ever. There are theories that we are going to become Japan and we are going to become some of these other, Europe, where they've struggled to rebound, from particularly Japan, where they really struggled. They were, going to be a sort of a global superpower economically, and then they really struggled, because of. There's all sorts of reasons of why that is. And there's all sorts of demographic reasons why Japan is very different than the United States in terms of not having enough of a workforce and younger people having lots of kids. And there's an endless amount to talk about in economics. What I will say, nobody knows from my perspective. I listen to everyone across the board from different, I listen to communists, to libertarians, to progressives, to conservatives. My view is most people are super well-meaning, well-intentioned, are trying to solve it. But we don't know exactly how to do it. think it's part of why I really wanted to, I started this channel in part to help people think about this stuff as it relates to Pokemon and to protect themselves. So I think there are people in this space who think they are buying assets, but they may actually be buying debt, because these cards may tank for if the whole, like, there are bad things that can happen where you think I'm putting my money into things that I'm going to retire on, are going to go up forever. But in reality, you're putting money in things that actually end up being like weights in your life, where if you put that money somewhere else, into your education, into stocks, into more blue chip items, it might have actually moved you and propelled you further in your life. So I know it's dark. There are hopeful things though. I think I'm a big believer in the human spirit and in resilience. And I'm a big believer in the United States and our economy and our checks and balances. And I'm a big believer in freedom of speech. And we have so many brilliant people here who I think care so much about each other and other people in this country. And I'm a big believer that we will figure it out and get through these things and learn lessons, and we'll be okay. But I would prepare yourself. And again, this is me. I'm a very conservative person, and I'm a more bearish conservative person. So take it for what it is. But preparing yourself for those potentially negative things, I think, is the way to go. What are I talked forever. What?
No, please. That was very entertaining. I had to go back to what I do for a line of work, and I've been doing this for a couple of years. I don't want to say what I do, but I do somewhere in the financial line, and we do talk about this very often. I just don't want to intertwine with what I do for work, just saying what here. But I think that what has been going on in the financial market and what people are saying, because I do talk to a couple of financial advisor myself, they are considered, I'm sorry, they do know what's going on a little bit with the world. They are aware. So they've been saying, just not a financial advice, it's just what I've been hearing, is that every time there is a pandemic, usually the market crash. So they are expecting a market to crash, and they are expecting with housing market to crash. And that's what I've been researching on that. So usually when a market crashed, usually with collectibles and everything else comes along with that, because that's when people have to sell. So I looked at that, and I don't want to go into a little bit more further details, but eventually when people did want to invest, and that's what eventually I want to make my channel a little bit more into, it's how to invest.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do fail, and if it does tank, at least the risk is low. Because I do see, just for Pokemon, for example, people paying $250 for a vintage booster boxes, and they're buying cases and cases of that and living in the storage. I think that's extremely high risk, what's going on now. And I think that there's not a lot of channels out there, and that's why I appreciate your channel so much, is not what to invest, but how to properly invest and how to use your money correctly and to invest. And that's what I do for a little bit for a living. But that's my input into this. I don't want to say much due to what I do for a living, but I definitely do agree with the things that you say.
Yeah, and I think that to get to the other part of the question about gambling, mm-hmm. I think that, when things are not going well, one of the greatest escapes is to experience, dopamine rushes in our brains and do things that give us that high, that give us that excitement, mm-hmm. that give us that feeling of winning. And mm-hmm. And this isn't, I feel guilty in some ways about doing this, but I took advantage of that early on in COVID, because while other people were concerned about Pokemon very early, this was even before I started my channel, I actually mm-hmm. thought that Pokemon would do extremely well in a pandemic, because people would be at home, because people would be anxious and depressed and going back to their childhood, because people would mm-hmm. be afraid taking their money out of mm-hmm. Things like the stock market and businesses that were going to get crushed, and mm-hmm. wanting to put it in assets, and the online, I thought the online shopping world, might go. So listen, I never expected it to be this much, is the thing that I'm amazed at. I expected like a little bit, or at least things to be like even out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, we'd have people scared, and so maybe they'd spend less money, but we would have it even out with like people getting money from the government, with stimulus checks, with unemployment benefits, and that would keep the market steady. Instead, what we've seen is a 10 times boom, and it should alarm people, because really the reality is that our country is not doing well. So even if you have even if we have more money in the short term, this has been a very hard year for this country, for the world. And so it's scary when everything is at an all-time high, when people are out of work. Like when you see unemployment numbers being really problematic, but stocks and all, and assets and all and investments really high, that's scary. That's not a sustainable reality. That's where as a value investor, you get nervous and you get scared about what psychologically is happening here, what's going on. And so I think, what I say is like, we all need some comfort. We need fun right now. We need community. We need connection. I think opening some packs, doing some gambling, spending some money with people, having fun. I love, Soccer's stream, because I just feel like he creates such a nice environment where people aren't being pressured to buy, where people are having fun, where I feel like yes, he of course is making money, some money off of it, but I just don't get the feeling from him, that this is like, that's, the central focus. It's really providing a service, and he's being paid like a very reasonable, fair amount. And it's a service that I think a lot of people are enjoying in a healthy way. So I think it's possible to create these healthy environments during this time, but it's all about those checks and balances. And I view myself as a check on some of the things I'm worried about in the hobby. And that's why, I started the channel, to try and push people to think critically about this sort of stuff. Ask, am I spending outside of my means? Ask, am I really investing, or am I just like collecting and doing this for fun? Ask, like, can I enjoy this without spending myself into debt? Why am I spending so much money on these pack openings when I can just go and hang out with the community, and wealthier people can spend money opening it, and I can watch and just hang out? There's so many ways. You could come talk to me if you have no cards. If you just have a love of Pokemon, we can hang out and talk Pokemon. You know what I mean? You don't need a massive, expensive collection to belong. So I think that's the type of stuff I want to get out there. And this ape brain, this gambling addiction, it scares me when I see, I think there's also an addiction to social media. There's an addiction to an addiction, or a lot of energy being put into branding and trying to build your company online, and a lot of toxic positivity. And, there's all sorts of things that I think are going on that relates to this. Any more thoughts on that, PokeGal?
Well, just a little bit to expand on what you said with the gambling. I think it does collectively bring the Pokemon community together. And I think it's a way to people to escape, especially just watching these live streams and just watching pack openings. And there's Facebook group that does tons of opening, and it's great. That's building personal connection with other, and just instead of going out, because I live in California and we have I can't say that word because I don't want your channel to be demonetized, and it's just great because it was an escape for me and an escape for my family, just great of my friends. But the thing where I want to know your opinion about this is that the gambling turns into part where they think it's an investment at the same time. I don't like that, and that's where I do have a problem with that. When you gamble, there's a risk that that you will lose. At the same thing with investment, but I feel like most of the new collectors, when they gamble, I think that they think that they're going to have a higher rate of return.
Yeah.
And the reality is that they don't. And I think in the end, that's where that it will eventually hit them. And that's where the problem lies, because I think people do have expendable income right now, and that's where they're looking things to invest in. And I myself have been looking at other companies to invest in, looking at to buy some stocks. But other than that,
Yeah, I think that's such a great
mhm,
point, and was something that was one of the key things that I was concerned about. When a channel like PokeRev or some of these channels were mixing
mhm.
pack opening with investing advice,
Yes, yes.
it becomes sticky. And even with Saga, right? When he mixes, like, he needs to be really careful with how he gives
Mhm,
advice, because clearly what he's doing is like not investing when people are opening
mhm,
packs with him. Now, two things to say about that. One, you can make lots of money at a casino gambling. You can make lots of money gambling. So you can make money gambling. Generally, gambling isn't fun if you have no potential of making money. So why
mhm,
the sets are the most fun sets that are
mhm,
generally to open are the ones that have those big Charizard hits in them. Because if you do
mhm,
happen to actually open one of those Charizards, you will, in fact, at least in the short term, make money. I think, though, what I saw a lot of people doing and saying, and
mhm,
Logan Paul said this in his big video to people, people came to his house, right? Who, all those streamers, and, they may not have meant this, but it's a dangerous idea. They
mhm.
would say things like, well, Logan would say something to them like, you just opened this pack. Ooh, my sound went down. You just opened this pack. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're breaking up, but I can hear you now.
Okay. You just would say things like, you just opened this pack and you didn't get a hollow, so you lost money, right? But
Uh-huh.
if you hold these long enough, you'll make money.
Based
And
on what?
right.
Yeah,
And
based
it's
on
like,
what?
maybe,
Yeah.
and it's such a dangerous thing, particularly, when you're talking about those first edition base cards, there are at least
Mhm,
fundamentals there that could make those
mhm,
cards really go up in value over time. And there may just not be enough to go around. But when we're talking about like modern and ultra modern, and you're thinking that way, there is a chance that those things go up. But
yes.
it's very it's very dangerous, because now you are addicted to gambling and buying, and you're rationalizing it by saying, I'm an investor, when in reality that's not what's happening here. So now it isn't an investment, but you could make money on it, or it could go up. That is true, and that is always true. And so I think that that's appealing to people, and I get that.
Mhm,
And I think that that is an okay to look at it way to look at it. It's like, well, if I open this pack and I get a rainbow rare and I grade it a PSA 10, it may not be worth that much, but it may go up in value, and I'm okay because I like it. That type of thing. And I'm spending
correct.
within my means. That type of thing is like, yeah, that's how I feel
Correct.
too. Um,
Correct. Correct.
so, and
But
also, buying and opening packs, you're losing so much money generally instead of just buying the card outright. So if you really believe that modern is a great investment, you should just be buying the cards and grading them yourself. Take my strategies that I teach on this channel and just do them with modern. Buy big lots of mint looking graded cards. Be patient. Wait for, save up a lot of capital, make big
mhm,
purchases at once, buy huge lots, grade them in mass to save money on bulk grading. Think financially, think critically. The problem is, I think, is that people want to really just have fun and hang out, and
yes,
that they're investing, and that's not really investing.
it's not. It's not whatsoever. And I think a little bit that I want to talk about because I think I saw some questions about junk slab era. I do want to talk about that, and that's where most of the influencer do come in as well.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I don't think people, and I think that's where new collectors they come in and they see, okay, so you just a quick search on eBay, if a card's worth 100 and you do express grading for 85, you open all these packs. I think they don't really, just quick math. And I think I don't know, and I really want to talk to a couple of these people. Like, do you know you're losing a lot of money? Just go out and buy the card, or go out and just get the card. Go to your local card shop, look for the card. And that's how my friend did it. He just went to my local card shop, just buy the card, see if this one might be a potential PSA 10. Bought the card for $25. He sent it to PSA. He sent it to 45 days, and that's how he saved a lot of money. And I thought that was a great strategy to sit there and what's the pull rate. of getting that card. And I talked to the cat's meow, and she said, I just stopped opening packs, period. I saved so much money, and I just went out and purchased a card. And I said, that's exactly what I've been doing.
Yeah.
And it sounds, every time we talked about this, it sounds like, oh, you're very negative. You don't want people to succeed, but that's just, if you really want to save money, I think that's the best strategy to do so.
Yeah. And there are people out there who like, they want to pull their cards themselves for their collection. And I
Hmm.
totally respect that and support that. It's just going to
Hmm.
cost you a lot more money. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong. There's nothing, you're not doing anything wrong, but it's understanding that you're a collector here, and to
Hmm.
collect that way is going to be a lot more expensive than buying the individual cards or buying complete sets. Um,
Correct. Correct.
so yeah, it's just having that knowledge, and then just being honest with yourself and trying to figure out, how much are you here to make money versus how much are you
Hmm.
here to have fun versus how much am I here to do both? That type of.
Correct. Correct.
Um, all right. So last question, and then we will be back with you in the chat, guys. All right. Thoughts on Tag All Stars GX boxes? They've recently climbed a lot, but are still only 15 to 20 more than a lot of other Japanese boxes. But the hits and fun level are insane. Still undervalued at $100 per box? Question mark. What are your feelings about that set? Another Japanese set. I'm not sure if you've done the tag team.
The
All-Star.
Tag Team GX box.
Yeah.
I opened some. I went out and I have some of the boxes coming in from Japan for just my seal collection. I'm not huge on Japanese. I think this question is all yours.
Okay. Um. Yeah. The All Stars GX box. So this is the gold box. This box has God packs in it, which I think were fun. The problem with this box is that it was not the problem with this box is that it was not very popular when it first came out, because it kind of got sandwiched in with like Shiny GX, Hidden Fates, like, there were just more popular things going on that people were still liking more and opening. So it just never got a lot of attention, a lot of popularity. I know that like Twice Baked Jake, TBJ, just start calling him TBJ. TBJ made a video about this box that I commented on, basically saying like, please don't tell people that this is like an investment vehicle. Not every box or not everything needs to be like investable and the best set ever. And can you hear me?
Yeah, you're cutting a little bit in and out, but I think you're cutting in and out. Yeah.
How bad has it been?
About like every 3 minutes, about in and
Oh,
out. Maybe it's just me. Hopefully, it's just me.
okay. As
Yeah.
long as it's been just every few minutes, because I
Yeah.
normally I think I can see that it cuts out and then I repeat the last thing I said.
Gotcha.
Um,
Gotcha.
but yeah. So it's that box should be more expensive than it is right now. I agree,
Hmm.
but that's because all of these modern products are going for like 10 times like what they were, like 8-10 months ago now. So many boxes have gone up so much. All of these Japanese boxes have gone up so much. Should this one be more in this current market? Yes, it probably should relative to these other things, but it'd be nice if some of these products didn't go up. One, so people could have fun and open them, and not everything needs to be investable. And we could just, even just from a collector's perspective, just have some product that we can just like open and has like fun pulls. There's a lot of this. The one lucky thing about this product is there's a lot still out there because it wasn't popular. So a lot of it did not get opened at release compared to a lot of these other sets. So if you go onto eBay right now, there's a ton of it. Although a
Hmm.
lot of people have been buying it and the price has gone up quite a bit, for a long time, it didn't go up at all. I think after TBJ made that video, the price went up. It spiked actually $20 to $30 and then didn't go up again for like 3 months. And now recently, all the boxes have started to go up again. And so that box has started, has gone up too. I think it's at 120, ish now, something like that. It's just unfortunate, I think, that it's a lose-lose. I view these things as a lose-lose. I know a lot of people view it as a win, but I view it as a lose when a lot of these modern products right away go up a lot, because one, it brings in scalpers and people who are just hoarding the product. And so rather than people opening it and making memories with these products and having kids get connected to some of these products, they're just completely unavailable, or they're too expensive for the average person, for the vast majority of people. And I think a lot of these things are just being sold from flipper to flipper, and no one is creating that, not no one, lots of people are opening it and creating good memories, but a lot less than could be are creating connections to it. So this is the problem with this type of mania, is that it's like kids need to open the product at affordable prices to ever want the product someday, or to ever have connections with the product someday. And the reason that us kids, and it's about having the appropriate balance, because if there's a lot of hype around it, the kid's gonna remember it as really cool and really great, and everyone wanted it and it was hard to find, which is a positive. But they actually need to be able to have some of it. If it's something that they've like never seen, they'll just move on to Fortnite or do something else. So those are some of my thoughts on it. That box is underpriced. It's undervalued because CP6, Shiny GX, PokeGal, all these sets are just so much more expensive, and all those sets are not so much better and so much more fun than that set. But I'm not buying it. I'm not going to the market hoarding that product, because I know it's going to go probably up to 200, 250. I thought about doing that a few times this year. I knew that Burning Fates and Evolutions and these types of things, when I saw some of those, like when those were going for 100, and I saw people, I saw certain boxes all of a sudden in 1 week double in price. I was like, well, certainly if that box double in price, Burning Shadows will double in price, because it had the Charizard. So I could have gone out there and bought a ton of it and then flipped it. A lot of people had that exact same thought, and that's exactly what they did, which made the price go up, which then a lot of people now see that higher price, say, oh, it's a better investment, even though that's irrational and they should see it as a worse. And then they all buy it. And then it just has this effect of just laddering it up. And it's all built on speculation, on people, a lot of it's built on speculation and people trying to make money. And it's, there's a bit of a house of cards situation happening on a lot of this product. But if the streamers keep opening it, and they decimate the supply, I don't think the cards will have value, but the boxes could have a decent amount of value, because the boxes will always go down in supply and eventually they may get eaten up. Those are all my thoughts. What do you think, PokeGal?
Well, exactly. I've always been a avid seal collector. I'm pretty sure if you guys look in the background, you guys will know avid seal collector. That's why, like, even I think Steam Siege right now, I think someone made a video about it. The master set of Steam Siege it's like $120, but the booster box is about $230 right now, if I remember correctly. But that's where it's a little bit conflicted to me, because how I've always collected, and it does go to the grain of salt that what you just said, because I just spent my money buying the master set, buying single cards, what I want. I barely open any packs. I let the card shop open the packs for me. I'm a very boring collector, you guys. I will admit that. I'm a very, very boring collector, but at the same time, I save a lot of money. But that's where the little bit of the struggle, and great that you mentioned it, because how I do it is I just buy all the singles. If I like the card, I get it graded. Um, and I just save whatever the money that I have left, because I basically set a limit for me what I spend, especially in Pokemon cards. So all the cards that I like, I go out and I buy it. I do either claim sales, or I just go on marketplace. I go to my local card shop and I just buy the card, look for the centered, get it graded, or just put it in my binder collection. And all the income that, whatever, not income, but all the extra money that I have,
Mm.
I go and I buy seal products and I let it sit there. And that's how I've made the most money. But at
Yeah.
the same time, since I don't open packs, I don't have that enjoyment anymore. But I'm at to a point where in my life where, and it depends on how other people, what they want. But I'm at a point in my life where I think opening packs and that joy of just getting that chase is completely over for me. It's more how to save money, and just how I don't think I'm an investor. I think I'm more of a collector, but I think I have so much seal products
Yeah.
that I've learned that is, if you do want to invest or just do want to make the most money, that's probably the best option. Because I got all of these back then when they were like buy one get one free from Target, or buy one get one from 50% off, and I just buy all of that, but I just
Yeah.
don't open that. Um, back then it's not crazy, but I think it's all up to people's personal preference. People like that chase, and that chase has died down a lot for me throughout the years. And I have learned out, just I get burnt out so fast. Um, because I did purchase some Champions Path, and I was supporting a friend, and I burned out so fast. I think I supported that friend. I purchased over like 50 packs of Champions Path, and I bought it for just, I think it was $7 when it was first released. I pulled nothing but Machamps. So I was like, I think I'm done. And I just went out and got the Charizard myself. Um, but I think it's just more of how and that's what I've always tell people who eventually reach out to me. How do you even make money doing this? I just say, buy the card that you want. If you want it in a PSA 10, buy in a PSA 10. But back then, when I was buying cards and how I would usually do it, I will never buy into the hype. When a first set that comes out, I will never buy into the hype. Never. I would wait until it dies down, and then wait until another set that comes up. They'll talk about it. And that's when people would usually dump their old products. And in that's when I come in, and that's when I buy. I will usually wait to the perfect time. There's usually a slot. And I did that with Hidden Fates as well. There's usually a slot right there, perfect timing, where they will announce a set. People get hyped. People get freaked out and says, "Oh my God, I need to sell everything that I have in here to get more money to buy the other set." And that's when I usually come in that little time frame, buy everything that they have, or just that's when I buy usually the cards that I want on that time frame. And then that usually afterwards it goes up again, but
Yeah.
that's the time frame that I look for. I would go buy the cards that I want to complete the master set, and that's how it is. I almost have a never I don't barely have any FOMO. The only time that I
Yeah.
usually buy set that comes out is to support a friend or a streamer. That's it, but not for investment purposes, because I know that if I do and I buy into the hype, most likely I will lose money. Um, that's my honest opinion. I know a lot of people don't feel that way, but that's just my experience from just collecting for so long, and the burnout is real. Um, I have a lot of people that come up to me, just new collectors, and they said, "I'm completely burnt out. I've spent thousand on the set. I'm burnt out," and they're coming out with shiny fates now. My goodness. And I said, "Yeah, it's take time. um Patient is just the key." It's completely true, especially when it comes to buying into Pokemon. And that's what I've been trying to preach to a lot of my viewers or my channel. It's just patient is just key.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's such a great topic of conversation.
um,
Is booster boxes versus PSA cards versus ungraded, product,
mhm,
and what is going to give you your best return on investment, putting aside what
mhm.
you enjoy, for just kind of
Yeah.
purely numbers, what's going to give you the best return on investment. And I know for me, I've taken, I know exactly how much money I've spent in the hobby, and I
Mhm.
know like what I bought each thing at, and have looked at booster boxes and I've said, well, what if I had taken that money and I put it in the optimal, which is unrealistic, in the optimal booster boxes, but I put it in the optimal booster boxes, the ones that have seen the biggest growth. And I've done much better than I would have done if I had just bought booster boxes and let them sit there. And the way that I did that was buying ungraded large lots and then grading them myself and then getting like 1,000 times sometimes, you know, I mean, you can get like these incredible returns. Can you hear me? How's the sound?
I can't. Yeah, I'm having a difficult time hearing you. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Guys, can you hear me? How's the sound? I guess I'll just keep going. Sorry. Let me know if you can't hear me or if I need to speak up. But yeah, so I got a huge return on investment. Okay. They say they can hear me loud and clear. That's good. So I got a huge return on investment because both you can pick individual. It's almost like picking individual stocks versus picking, putting your money in an index fund, basically. And I hate comparing it to stocks, but in this way, it is similar in the sense of when you buy a booster box, you're really investing in some sense in every card in that set. You're also investing in the booster box as a separate item, and we can go into that because it's complex what that really means. But when you're buying a PSA card, you can go in and delve into why, this card is actually much harder to grade than these other cards, but people don't notice that yet. So I'm going to go heavy after this card because it's going to see a larger increase than I think these other cards from the set will. And so you can use your greater knowledge to sort of outcompete. And the issue with that, one is that PSA is now basically shut down. It takes so long to get things done. Two, I think for newer people, sealed product, particularly in modern, sealed product is the way to go because people are greatly underestimating, I think, the amount of product in the world, but the sealed product will always go down over time. The sealed product will always decrease. And there's a lot of history in other hobbies when we look at Magic, for example, where boxes can retain their value, even when the cards inside completely lose their value or have almost no value. And so I think that what happens, and this is very true in Dragon Ball Z and Score, when you buy a Score DBZ box, the box is very, very expensive. It's very difficult to pull the ultra rare card. And so the expected value is very low on the box, but the box is still very expensive and very sought after because there are so few of those boxes left in the world. If we look at like the Deoxys box in Pokemon is a great example of something similar in Pokemon, your expected value is so low from opening that box, but it's very valuable because there are so few of those boxes. So it's all going to have to do with how many of those boxes get opened up. So if lots and lots of modern product gets opened up over the years, some of your sealed boxes in the back there might actually, there might only be tens of thousands of those left in the world. Right now there might be a million of one of them, but it might get down to tens of thousands someday. Whereas I can tell you the cards inside are going to go in one direction. Everyone knows this, and there's going to be millions of those cards inside out there in circulation. So what is going to be special is someone who has a sealed product of it, not someone who has a PSA card. Everyone is going to be able to get a PSA 10 copy of a lot of those cards. So that's that if they want it. So that's sort of thinking very long term on that sort of stuff. But vintage, there's so little mint product that I think PSA cards are still undervalued compared to the boxes because there's so little supply. And I think this is my just prediction, and I don't have evidence because we can't really compare it to other hobbies, but I think in the long run, the cards are going to do better than the boxes because there just are so few cards that even though there are also so few people at the end of the day, I think more people relative are going to want the cards. This is my personal feeling. And I think that the expected value on the boxes, like it's going to, there's going to be, well, it's not quite that simple because there's always going to be a relationship. And certainly as the PSA cards go up, the booster boxes will go up. But I just think the ratio right now, let me give you guys more specifics to explain that. Like the ratio right now on like Neo hollows in PSA 10 first edition or E-series hollows in PSA 10, like you can still get these cards for $300-$400 when the boxes are going for like 25,000, or 30,000, $60,000. And that ratio just makes no sense at all. When the box is going for 60,000 and a PSA 10 copy of a hollow from the box is going for in the hundreds, when that card is very difficult to grade and likely you're not going to get a 10 anyway. You're going to probably have to open multiple boxes to get that card. So that's my interpretation of that. What will be important though in the long run is there are a number of people who just don't like the cards and just like the sealed product. And if there are a lot of those people, that will always help the sealed market go up. The other big part of the sealed market is the box openers. That there's a huge price on a lot of these boxes because a lot of influencers were hunting them down to open them for their stream. There's no way in hell the first edition booster box would be where it's at without Logan Paul buying the first one to raise it to 200,000. Everyone thought he was crazy that he paid that much, and then buying 6 more and possibly raising the price to 400,000 to 500,000 now. Like that never would have happened without him. And there are a lot of influencers who are going after like the Jungle Fossil, Team Rocket, lots of streamers, and they really, really inflated the prices on those. I think it's part of why we saw some retraces on some of those boxes. Yeah. So, how are you having trouble hearing me still, PokeGal, or is it okay now?
Just a little bit. It's breaking up in and out, but I definitely can hear you.
I'm sorry.
I think that's the problem. What I was thinking, because it's not your fault. There's a lot of people that are hoarding or just investing in a lot of sealed products right now, because during these Facebook group and on Discord, you can see people just having cases and cases and cases of modern products stored, because Hidden Fates, I think, did a couple of many reprints, and they're just buying it in store. And that's what I was thinking. Okay, so how is this going to affect the market, and how is this going to work with the cards with PSA? And my thing is that yes, PSA cards do have a higher return rate of sometimes, but I think the safest bet, to me, it's just my own personal opinion, is just sealed products, because this is what I'm hoping for. And again, this is all speculative, that eventually people will go back, and exactly what you said. That's why we need to make sure that the collectors, and there's people there that are going to stay in the hobby, that later on they're going to be like, okay, I want to open up Hidden Fates again, or I want to open up Shiny Legends again. And they go out and they seek for sealed products, especially with social media being so popular nowadays, and the hype is there. But at the same time, with just having sealed products, it's just PSA altogether. What happened when the hype dies? And that concerns me right now, because when I have all these sealed products in back of me, no one anticipated this is going to bloom. Nobody did, especially with Generations. I bought 500 packs of Generation. I'm still sitting on it right now for $2 a piece.
Yeah.
I did not anticipate it to go to $40 now. But at the same time, with people who are investing or just having the products in their closet right now, they do see it. They do see, okay, this could be a chance. And there's hundreds, if not thousands, of people doing the same thing, just having all the products just stored in the back. So what happens is, when the hype dies down and all the boxes started to surface, that what concerns me a lot. But at the same time, I do think it goes into conjunction, as in, if the boxes go down, the PSA cards will most likely go down. But that's something that worries me a little bit. But at the same time,
and I agree with you completely. And
Mhm.
I think the boxes have more of a potential of going back up after that crash. Whereas we may find that there are too many evolutions cards for the amount of collectors in the hobby. Like there may end up being too many gem mint evolutions cards.
Oh,
for
I absolutely agree.
every person in the hobby who wants one and is willing to pay above 50, 60, $70 for one. Whereas the booster boxes will always be going down in amount, in supply. And so even if the amount of PSA cards or the amount of cards, there are just way too many of them, there's a much better chance of those boxes appreciating over time. And in fact, as long as Pokemon stays relevant, almost certainly the boxes will appreciate over time, because of that. I would think it just might be really slow, and it's not this right now. Boxes are not appreciating in value. What's happening is they're having intent. There's the boxes are not appreciating in value. What's happening is that there is a ton of speculation, and people are buying it to flip and to make money, or to open to sell to people. This is not a slow, gradual appreciation of a item, because there are less and less of them in the world, because people are, it's not a natural, comfortable process is what I'm getting at with that, that I would feel confident in. I think that there's a lot of retrace potential in the movement we're seeing, but I do think eventually you will see more sustainable, solid growth on some of those items. But we'll see. It'll depend. I mean, Pokemon hobby also could become a lot less popular, and then we might not see that, because the supply may never dwindle. I mean, what we see with a lot of sports boxes,
yeah,
like and comic books, but the best comparison are the boxes in sports. They have not appreciated. Some of the boxes from the 80s and 90s and stuff are the same value or less or cheaper than they were, 40 years ago. So because and I want people to understand this point, because it's all supply and demand, and this is what you don't hear enough about in this hobby. If the amount of boxes, if there are just too many of them being hoarded, so if 1,000 people have 100 of them and they all try to sell onto the market at once, there might not be enough people who want to buy those boxes ever. And so there's never going to be an appreciation, because instead they're always going to be undercutting each other, and it's going to find a resting point where they're unwilling to sell. And that's what's happened for some of these sports cards boxes, where they just sit on eBay for $30 for 10 years. And like one sells every 6 months. So that's what you could see on some of this product. There is historical precedence. And it's why I tell you guys, you gotta study other hobbies. You gotta look at other hobbies to understand that people are thinking too simplistically, that it's not just that booster boxes will constantly go down in supply, so they're constantly going to become more valuable. You have to think about that demand side. And if a lot of the demand is coming from those speculators, investors, and not from people wanting to open them and collect them, you're going to be in trouble. But I'm hopeful. I think Pokemon is popular enough. I think we're early enough. I think you're going to have multiple generations coming into Pokemon. All the positive arguments are 100% true. I think that, when 40-year-olds we'll have a lot more money when we're 40 than when we're 30, hopefully, to spend money, more disposable income. Although when you have kids, but all of that stuff is good for the hobby and good for the long term, but we may see some rocky bumps in the middle.
Correct. And that's where the Pokemon community needs to collectively work together. We need collectors. We need new people to come in. And of course, that's where the debate with, okay, are scalpers really helping the Pokemon community? And let's be honest, there's always going to be people out there that's going to go out and do things greed. We can't stop them. You and I can't stop them. Anybody in this chat can't stop them, because there's always going to be people in the community that does that. They just don't. I'm pretty sure that you can spot them out as well. Anybody in the chat probably can, though. You can't stop that. I noticed that people were selling Happy Meals, the Pokemon cards, for $80 on Marketplace. $80. Cereal boxes they were selling for $95. I even took a screenshot of it and I shared it on my Facebook.
Were people buying them? Were people buying them?
I hope not. Yeah. Not that I see. And they were hoarding cereal boxes. I honestly hope not. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But
yeah.
Exactly. There's scalpers in the hobby, but what we can do is that if you it's just basically like any hobby or anything. There's supply and there is demand, right? There's got to be demand for there to be a supplies, because if there's no demand, their Pokemon's probably gonna not be popular. And that's where the conversation of scalpers. And but the good thing is that I hope is that with new collectors in the hobby, they learn and eventually say, okay, this is not working out for me. And
Yeah.
hopefully they learn and they will still stay in the hobby. But the good thing about Pokemon is that because every new set comes out, what, every 3 months, they'll
Yeah.
get burnt out. And within months, they'll know. And they'll come up to me or just come up to other collectors and they just said, okay, I see what's going on here. And they'll push back, because I've been reading a lot of chats during my live stream where people said, I spent 7,000 on a Charizard. Oh my goodness, the price has gone down to 1,600. I think one of the comments said that to me. And I think Pat said himself, I think he bought I forgot how much he spent. And then he
Yeah.
went down. He said, lesson learned. Bang. Um,
Yeah.
but
It's part of
that's
the
just
issue is that a
mhm,
lot of people are actually making, to be completely frank, and people don't like to hear this, and I get it, but are making irrational bad purchases and then
correct.
so they make an irrational bad purchase and they make money off of it. I think
Correct.
my might have cut me off there. So
Mhm,
it's, and that reinforces
mhm,
the bigger and bigger gambles, which
mhm,
reinforces other people to take bigger and bigger gambles, which creates a bubble. So what
mhm,
happens is that when people do things that don't make
mhm,
sense and that are based on fundamentals and they get rewarded for
mhm.
it, they do more of it. And then other
Correct.
people do it and then they do it
Correct.
too. And when lots and
Correct.
lots of people do it, that's what causes a bubble. And because the
Correct.
definition of a bubble is that people are buying things on speculation, on the desire to make money, not on the
Mhm,
underlying asset, and what they
mhm,
actually value that thing as. And that is when I made that video, 6 months ago, 7 months ago, whenever it was, I have some
mhm,
concerns in the Pokemon hobby. That was my
mhm.
concern. And this is, I
Yeah.
think, a misunderstanding that some people have of my argument. I think these cards could be worth many millions of dollars. Okay. That I think that, first edition basic, trophy cards could be worth many millions of dollars. It has the fundamentals to be worth many millions of dollars if there is enough demand. But
Mhm,
it's all about how it gets there. It's all about how it gets to the million. It's all about who is buying it and why are they buying it and what kind of money they have. And will they be
mhm,
able to hold it, or are they buying it to flip it to a greater fool? So markets that are built up in a way that everyone has a lot of confidence and you
mhm.
believe the people telling, the people like you and I, who have these platforms, we're trustworthy. We tell the truth. We share information. We're kind. We want to bring people in. We want to help people not get losses. When a hobby, and there's so many people like that in this hobby, and a lot of our, the biggest people in this hobby are like that. In terms of with the biggest platform. I was talking to some guys the other day who were like, we just love Randolph, Pokey Rand, and he's just been such an inspiration to us. And he's like inspired me to start my own channel, and just his love of the hobby I find so contagious. And it's like, it was just so wonderful to hear that, and I think it's when people have that experience with creators, when people have that experience with other hobby members, it forms a trust that actually creates real value, that these cards have now real value to you, and you're not just buying them to flip them to someone, to a greater.
Yes.
And I think
Yeah.
that is what we're looking at. How do we build a market? How do we help build a market here that is
Mhm.
sustainable? And we do that by one thing I'm really worried about is a lot of the money is leaving the hobby and going to PSA. People are, and what I
Yeah.
mean by that is people are putting money into slabs that are going to be worth nothing or worth less than
Nothing.
the grading. So literally
Yes.
what you're doing when you do that is you are taking money out of money that you could save and invest in the hobby, in items that have real fundamentals and are really valuable and people actually want. And you're sending it to the PSA company. They're taking it,
Mhm.
and you're getting back something that, probably no one is going to want or even pay you $10 for in a lot of cases. And
Correct.
these things matter, because not only does it psychologically matter because this person may completely leave the hobby because they've had a bad time, or they feel like they've gotten, manipulated by an influencer or told that this
Yes.
will go forever,
Yes.
and then they leave, which is terrible. But they also like, instead of putting money into cards that they're going to love and enjoy and other people are going to love and enjoy, and that is what actually creates money or a value that they could sell it to someone, they're going to have a collection filled with stuff that they don't like and that other people don't like, because they were trying to make money, and it's we see this in every hobby, and the scalper part we were talking about, it's very that exists in all hobbies. And for me, I hear people be pretty black and white about it, like scalper's bad. And it's like, well, I don't feel that way. Like, if someone is taking a few boxes to support their family and they can see that they can make money doing this, like, these are Pokemon cards. This isn't like taking food away from someone, like, to feed their family, which even then you could have a moral debate. Is that ethical or not? Right. They're taking Pokemon cards. Like, guys, we can live without the Pokemon cards. This person selling them to feed their family, right? like people chill out, But at the same time, there are people who like don't probably need the money, are being greedy in the sense that they don't need to buy everyone out and sell everyone. They're trying to make the absolute most money they can. And it does have a negative effect on the hobby. And if they don't recognize that, they're lying to themselves. And they're putting their own pocketbook, their own wallet over the well-being of the hobby, and there are all sorts of things that you and I can do to do that, right? Like, I could hype cards. I could turn this channel into a hype channel. It'd be a bigger channel. I could listen to what people and then just say it back to them. I could hype up my own cards secretly. I could, there's lots of ways to be greedy. But then there are ways, can you make money, or can you function and get some value back for your time that also is a win-win for the people watching or for the hobby at large? And I think that's my challenge to businesses in the space, is like, how do you run that type of business in Pokemon? And I think we have so many great people and businesses trying to do that. And I think we need to be very careful not to hate on our businesses. The businesses are integral, important parts of helping us get the product that we love for reasonable rates, so, and the streamers are helping people open cards and building a community. So it's important not to look at it too black and white and just to yell at someone, and also ask questions. Don't just assume. If you think someone's negative or sucks or doesn't have good intentions, like, give them a second, what I mean? Like, maybe talk to them a little bit, see what their intentions are, so those are, what are your thoughts on those ideas, PokeGal?
I think that I think you're absolutely right on just asking questions. But I think with most of the new collectors, when they come in, I think they're too reliant on just YouTube, and just without doing their own research. And I think, and this is all personal opinion, and this is where I think that they do just rely a tad way too much without just doing their own research, just a quick click here and there. But at the same time, I don't think that new collectors who are getting short at the end of the stick, knowing which cards to grade here and there, they don't have the access to just where to go to look for good resources.
Of course.
And that's what I think the main concern. I think, I'm not going to name any groups, but I think, for example, just some Facebook groups, when they do go in and ask, hey, is this card worth grading? Is this card? And I find them as a genuine question. And they do get picked on. And that's where they have to go and turn to these YouTube channels. And some are very misguided, to me, in my honest opinion. And that's why they have the junk slab. That's my pure honest opinion. And I know that I've asked a question like that on your live stream and you agree
Yeah.
with me on that. And it had happened to me before, and
Right.
I had to just leave one of the groups because it was becoming so toxic for me. And I left, and I feel like, wow, I've been in this hobby for such a long time. And if I felt that's the type of energy that's getting to these people for a new collector, imagine, I'm sorry, to me, imagine how it feels for a new collector. Um, but I think at the same time, a lot of these influencer, they do have an interest of a heavily interest of their own collection. That's why they have to hype it up. That's what I firmly believe, especially when someone sells their card and they have an investment channel or channel here and there. They do have a personal interest, and that's where we
Yeah.
need themselves to watch out. And um, I I'll say this, I'm an attorney. So when someone comes up to me just talking and just investment in general, the first question I ask them is, do you want to invest in this? Is this is something that you haven't done any research at all? Are you sure you want to put your hard earned money into this type of investment? Do you want to do this? Do you, if you don't have the time to do your own research on this, are you sure you want to spend thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, into this type of investment? And people just go, just tell me what to do. I
Yeah.
will do it. And they do it blindly. And that's where, that's because sadly, that's where most people fail because they listen to these people. And again, that goes into most of the ethics, as in, should sellers do this? Um, and it's more ethical. That's more like a different conversation. We can go into that. I mean, I don't mind talking about this, but
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just going on a tangent. But I
No,
think,
no, it's great. I agree with that. I think the thing that everyone has to be careful about, we have to be careful about is like, it's I don't know what is going to happen either
yes.
in the market. And so you
Hmm.
have to be very clear too about what we know and what we don't know. And
Hmm.
I think that it's why you say this is my opinion. And I think when you're saying this is my opinion, when you
Hmm.
slide that in, you're giving nod to that very fact of like, I have 20 years in this hobby. I am very engaged. I've seen a lot of things happen. And my opinion based on all of that, based on all that experience and knowledge is this. But I understand that it may not be completely accurate or this or that. Now, what I do feel very comfortable about is my opinions and my ideas about how healthy markets are built.
Hmm.
Where I don't feel comfortable is where we are at in that process. And it goes back to my bubble video.
Hmm.
Are we in a bubble video? And my answer is that it's not worth thinking. It's not a good question. The question is, at what stage of a bubble are we in?
Yeah.
Are we still in awareness phase where more and more people are going to find Pokemon, where more and more demand is going to happen? And so
Hmm.
prices are going to skyrocket a lot more before they eventually retrace. And that is also true for the stock market right now. That is also true. The Fed and other things may print more money. Like Biden just started his new presidency. Biden may not want to be known as like the president who killed the economy, which would be completely unfair because this isn't his fault, but he may because of that. And I think this is one of our biggest problems, going back to US politics for a second, is that politicians get blamed for things that are not their fault that happen while they're in office that have to do with many years of policy before them. So they
Yeah.
get awarded for good things that happen during their presidency, which is often nonsense, and they get attacked for bad things that happen during their presidency, which
Hmm.
is often not their fault, and actually has to do with like the three presidents before them or policies for 40 years that this country has had. So it's just amazing the insufficient. I think that where I come from is this. This stuff is sophisticated. This stuff is complicated. And
Yes.
with sophistication and complication comes risk, 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 risk.
Hmm.
And it's it's why you have to protect yourself. It's why listening to channels like this, where we hopefully say things, things that maybe you didn't think of, things that maybe, make you think, or you get this one good perspective, and then going to other channels and other places that give you different perspectives, and you hear different arguments. That is the best advice. That is the best thing that you can do. And I want to do my best not to overpromise answers, on anything. So I don't know if should we turn our attention back to the chat for the
yes,
last?
we went on a little, sorry about that. We don't think we've answered any of the chat question, not even one.
Hello, chat. Chat.
Sorry, you guys. This is just way more into finance. We just totally went to it. And last input, I just want to say that it depends on, you got to have collectors that are interested in the hobby. Like me, I've been into this collection for so long. I would never personally, I mean, that's me, my honest opinion, go out and get a PSA 10 for 130,000. You need to have demand. And I think that's where people don't see that, because once the demand, it's going to fall if there's no demand. Last thing, I think we need to go to the chat. Hey, chat. Yes. Sorry about that.
So chat, can you do me a favor? And if you are enjoying the conversation, can you take a second to like the video? The next thing I want you to do is, after our chat, please go over to PokeGal's channel and subscribe to her channel, please. Because PokeGal has been doing... Yeah, PokeGal is wonderful. She's so kind. She's so supportive to all the new people in the hobby. And she's doing a great service for the Pokemon community, just the way that she treats other people and tries to share her knowledge. And so if we can give back to her, by, in my case, by hosting you on, on this channel, and if you guys can give back to her by subscribing to her. Okay.
Thanks. All right. That would be really appreciated, you guys.
Yeah, and she's doing live streams also with some people that I've interviewed who I know you guys love as well. So you will really enjoy her live stream content. I think you just had Pat on. You just had... Who did you have on? Who's the last person you had on?
Newbie Noob, loved it. I love all of my guests. Newbie Noob. I invited Pokemon Classic. I'm in talks with King Pokemon to get him on. Squeaks is going on, and they have tons of questions for Squeak, the Flex God. I'm reaching out very slowly. If you guys check out my Instagram, you guys will know I've been collecting for quite a while, just a long time. I genuinely love Pokemon. I barely sell. I hardly sell. That's why I hoarded all those folders. If you guys check out my channel, I hoarded a lot of cards. And I made a joke yesterday. If unlimited cards were to ever become popular, I'll be a billionaire, because I have my storage so many unlimited, so many. If Bellsprouts were ever become popular with unlimited Bellsprouts, I'll be so rich, you guys. I'll be Poke rich in Bellsprouts, but it's so popular out there. I have a storage full of Pokemon cards that it's bittersweet for me. Now that I'm gonna go to chat, it's very bittersweet for me that but luckily for me that I have a lot of the cards, but some of the cards now, that I have not completed or just basically want a better condition, it's hard for me. But it's very bittersweet. Everyone always asks me, how do you make so much money doing this? And I always tell them, I'm an accidental investor, if that's what you want to call it. I collect first, and I collected what I loved, and it just came with it. And I always collect what I loved, and it all started when I was being bullied in high school, and I didn't have a lot of friends in high school, and I had a local card shop that was just literally down the street, and I would ride my little bike, and whenever I get my money or just allowance for Chinese New Year or Christmas, I go there and I made friends with my local card shop, just opening packs and trading. And I never grew out of it. And it's always been my escape. And for 22 years, I've been just buying cards and collecting. I absolutely I love Pokemon. And just to integrate it with doing something I love with YouTube and just going there. It's absolutely great. And how I started with my channel was 5 years ago, just opening some packs. And then back then, I was going through law school, so I just kind of stopped. But then what brought me back on is how I met you and how I reach out to you is just very misguided. I wouldn't say bad. I just, yeah, that probably a better word, but I think I'm gonna use the word misguided
Yeah.
information out there. And when you
I
made
think
that video,
some bad, some intentionally manipulative, but mostly just misguided or newer people.
very correct. And I think with misguided with app with a with a tint of personal interest there as well. And that's when I started to make that video because I just said, okay, this is not right. These people are getting really misguided information.
Yeah.
Um, that's not right because how that's just not right. And
Yeah.
what really sparked that video that I made was because that person who I reached out to, I would not say anybody's name here, said that TCG player was not the correct price guide to do it. I said, that's absolutely not right. That's wrong information. And that's going to hurt the hobby. And I mean, I hate to say that, but most people, and you and I know the same people, actually have quit Pokemon because of it. And that basically hurts the hobby. And we, like I said, we absolutely need people in the hobby to get this going. Um, but that's how I started the channel again. And I'm pretty excited just to get things going and just to basically just to talk about what I love and my joy and my pure excitement with Pokemon cards. Um and that's why I can relate to a lot of people because here, especially what's going on here, they people find Pokemon cards to be one of their escape. And then back then when I was bullied, opening packs was my escape to of it all. And I never I never grew out of it. I just love it so much, and I just brings the way that I talked about it. It just brings so much joy, and just so just so much happiness in my life.
Yeah.
And
Pokemon
it's
is a
just
very personal thing to so
yeah,
many. We
yeah,
all, we all have our, it's very personal. And I think that's part of why I also think you and I care so much and get so
yeah,
frustrated when we see people being mistreated or misled is because we care a lot about Pokemon doing well. We care a lot about people in the
yeah.
community for that reason, because we both have our own stories and special connections,
Correct,
for me, just
correct.
being a kid. And I
Correct.
don't go into too much personal stuff on this channel, but yeah, but things happening in my life and then me getting very involved in that Game Boy game and having a lot of fun. But I had a tough time because of personal things, and
Yeah.
the Pokemon game was important to me at that time.
I was
So,
just reading
okay.
some of the comments. Jose Bernaldez is so funny. Just reading his comments. I thought it was kind of funny. If you ever have time to read his comments, I'm just reading it.
Um,
Okay.
alrighty, let's see what we've got
Oh,
here.
okay.
Jake, how
Back
can
to
we
the
protect
chat.
PokeGal from bullies? Okay. Um, so Radizor makes a great point here. Jake, at some point you should probably do a video on portfolio risk management. Seems like there's a lot of people think about what to keep and sell in their collection. It would be educational to touch on the cyclical nature of the collectibles market and how, if you actually might up needing the money, it won't always be available like it could be now. Yeah. Yeah. Talking about that cyclical nature and the effect on the liquidity of items is a really important point in that, is that these can become extremely illiquid items very quickly if there becomes a lot of fear in the market. So even if prices don't drop dramatically, you
Mhm.
might not be able to then sell your card quickly. And so people might get used to selling their cards quickly to get cash back so that they can pay off their credit card and buy more cards. I know there are probably a number of people functioning sort of in a business model in that way. And that isn't necessarily a sustainable thing in downtime. So there's a lot to talk about Radizor. And Yeah, doing videos specifically on it wouldn't be a bad idea. I always prefer. I don't like doing the videos as much as I like these sort of like live interactive
Mm-hmm.
things. So, but
Mm-hmm.
I know that the videos can be a way to reach people in a much more effective way because
Mm-hmm.
not everyone. There are a lot of people on YouTube looking for an answer, a short answer, and
Yeah.
they're not going to watch, this 3-hour video to this point and then hear this point, that exact point that maybe they really needed to hear. Whereas if that was put in a 10-minute video, it'd be more likely that they would get that comment.
Yeah. And I think it's just like anything when you ask a question, it's always black. It's not always black and white. There's layers into it why the cards are coming up, and there's artificial inflation. It just from what I'm seeing here, people think, "Oh my god, that price." I think a special delivery Pikachu, um, I think it went up to 14,000 from what I heard. I'm not what I seen, or at least over 10,000.
Yeah.
And there's people out there that says, "Oh my god, this card is $10,000 now, guys." But there's layers to it. Did the buyer pay? Right? What's going on?
Yeah.
And I don't think so. I think that was a fake bid. Um,
Yeah, the next ones were going for about 2000 in the 2000 range, but what I will
yeah,
tell people is
yeah,
would it have even sold for 2000
yeah,
if there wasn't a fake shilled $12,000 bid? So this is what
correct.
people don't think about. And so people say, well, the price is 2000 and the
Uh-huh.
shilled one was shilled,
Hmm.
but did the shilled one affect how everyone talked about that card? Because how
Exactly.
effective the shill bill was so effective
Hmm.
because then all the YouTubers started
Hmm.
talking about the card, which got a
Hmm.
lot of interest and attention on the card because everyone's like, oh my God, this modern card sold for 12,000. Then more people come in. So remember, guys, like the hype video I just made, that is what I'm talking about hype. No one talking about fundamentals, people just talking about, a story, a narrative that isn't even true.
Hmm. Jake just got really excited for the Super Bowl. That's why he left, I think. I'm just kidding, guys. I have no idea what's going on. Am I even by myself? He's excited for who's playing the Super Bowl? Oh my god. The Chiefs and the Buccaneers. There you go. Hold on, let me let me where did he go? Does this happen a lot? You guys want to? Okay, I'll show you my room a little bit. His girlfriend unplugged the internet. Jake. Okay, I'll show you guys my room. Hold on. I can do that. These are some of my duplicate boxes. I have a storage full, which I'll show you guys my room. There's just some of my seal collection, and there you guys go. Yeah, I am. I am actually an attorney. Oh, I got 500 sub. Thank you. I appreciate. Where is Jake? Let me dial him. Hold on, you guys. 1 second. I I no idea. We need Jake back on. Jesus is protecting the boxes. No, not at all. I have a PO box, and it's kind of funny because I talk about my storage unit, and I always get people, just random people messaging me like, "Hey, if I ever come to visit you, would you ever show me your storage?" And I go, "That's kind of creepy," and I would that yeah, I get a. It's funny. I think I got like 4 messages once when I talk about my visit of the cold storage, and I would get like random people be like, "Hey, if I come visit you, well, show me your storage. Let's talk." And I'm like, that's kind of creepy. Let me message Jake because this is definitely his live stream. I don't want to be taking over. Okay. Can you address the late rumors of Jake from Pokenomics? Absolutely love Jake. If I were to, I have put Jake in my trust fund for all my Pokemon cards. I love Jake. He inherited everything, you guys. Uh, yeah, it's me out the water bottle. Okay, let me contact Jake. If not, I'm gonna end the live stream because this is definitely his show and his YouTube, and I definitely don't want to be just talking and being weird. I I definitely do not want to do that. No, it's not my time to shine. It's definitely his YouTube. I definitely don't want to do that. Was Jake asked? No, it wasn't. Where is Jake? Hmm. My power went down. There he is. But it's coming back on. Okay, great. Jake. Hey guys, this is Jake from Pokenomics. I totally went to take a break. I came back and I look like an Asian girl now. So oh my god. My favorite set is the Team Rocket return set. Are you gonna have it open to have a Jewish wedding because of Jake? Jose, you're gonna have his girlfriend's gonna murder me with those comments, you guys. You guys are so. I love the comments. I think they're so funny. You're gonna have me murdered, okay? I'm now like taking it over his live stream and talking about weddings. You guys are gonna have me murdered, okay? Jose, you're gonna you're gonna have me murdered. So I'm just waiting for him to get back in the chat because I think I'm a host now. So I think uh my favorite card, let's say. Okay, it goes line and line together. I love Bidoofs. Shining Magikarp is actually one of my favorite cards now that I think about it, but I love Bidoof because I think he's so goofy and people troll him so much that I was like, okay, I find this a little bit entertaining. They have a Bidoof song. It's called like a troll song. I find it so entertaining. It became okay. Sarah came back on. I don't no idea who Sarah is. I love Bidoofs. Shining Magikarp is actually one of my favorite cards now that I think about it, but I love Bidoof because I think he's so goofy and people troll him so much that I was like, okay, I find this a little bit entertaining. I'm pretty sure you guys, and give it 2 minutes, you guys gonna see a Sarah that popped in. I have no idea who that is. Hey, Sarah.
Alrighty. Sorry about that, guys.
See, Jose, you see, this is what happened. When you talk about weddings and stuff, his girlfriend pulled a power plug. That's what happened.
My
Uh,
apologies. Thank you for running the stream while I was gone. That's hilarious that it stayed open.
I did. I was just talking about myself and just um, enjoying the comment section. I thought it was really funny. You have an amazing follower. You amazing followers. They're really funny and the comments are very entertaining.
Alrighty. Any
Okay, I can't hear him now again, you guys. He froze.
Oh yeah, someone mentioning James selling that box to I didn't I that was really cool seeing him selling that box to Logan. That was hilarious.
Jay, can you hear me? Because I think I'm having a difficult time hearing you.
Oh, am I coming in and out?
Oh, there you go. There
Oh.
you go. I can hear you again. Okay, Sarah's now gone. We have Jake back. Excellent. That was. And he froze.
So, any other topics,
There you go.
guys? Any other topics that people are interested in today? Or we can end if I just keep freezing over and over.
You do. It's you freeze. Yeah. Yeah, it's coming in and out.
I'm coming in and
Yeah,
out.
you are coming out in and out.
All right, we'll give it a sec.
Where do you live, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm in Massachusetts. We have a pretty big snowstorm right now here.
Ouch. Oh my god.
Yeah.
So, I can't hear Jake, you guys. I'm so sorry. He just keeps freezing.
I'm freezing again. Oh my gosh, it's not freezing on my side.
My side. Okay, maybe it's just me.
Is it?
Let's talk about internet providers. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. What a pain this is. One thing I want to talk about. Can you hear me now, PokeGal?
Yeah.
Is Clubhouse. Have you heard of Clubhouse?
No, I have not. What's that?
So it's this like new like fancy schmancy app that like they've released in this sort of like way to try and get free attention by. They basically have done the Facebook release where only people who are in the app can invite someone else in the app. So every person in the app can invite 2 other people to the app. And I have to tell you though, I got invited into the app into like a Pokemon group there, and it is incredibly fun because it is and I think guys, like, I'm definitely gonna keep doing the YouTube channel and it's fun doing this live, but the app I think is way more suited for me to talk and communicate with you guys eventually. So I don't know if the app will be successful. I know Twitter and there are some other companies that are trying to race to create a similar platform, but basically what the platform is we're all in a room together. There are no visuals. It's all audio. Okay. So you don't have to worry about the bad camera anymore or the bad connection anymore. It is only Android, right? It is only Apple, right? iPhones right now, not Android, although eventually they will definitely do it on Android as well. Someone just mentioned that. But it's so great because it's really in beta testing right now. What it is that we all are in a room together, and there are administrators of the room who have the power to bring people up into the like speaker spots. And then you can have just like conversations, like any one of us, like all of us right now, like all 141 people right now in the chat, we could all be in this room together where anyone can talk and we can all talk to each other. So what it would be like is like you and I would be at the front moderating, and then people would like raise their hand with a question. They would literally speak to us. So we'd actually like get to communicate and hear their voice, and they'd actually be able to ask it in a more interesting way than, necessarily just typing it. and then we can really make sure to get to every question. And it's like, it's so much more personal than this because we really are talking to each other in real time instead of through typing, instead of through text. It's an amazing app. Yeah, highly recommend it. But again, you have to like know someone to get you in right now.
Gotcha.
It's the same way that Facebook did it to try and get that appeal, but it's definitely going to be open to everyone, it's at some point. But
Gotcha. One, I don't have an Apple. I switched once and I switched back like 2 weeks later. I'm not tech savvy at all. Sorry, Apple user. I just suck. Two, I don't think I'm cool enough to be invited yet. So we'll get there. It's a long ways coming, you guys. A long ways coming. But they have to switch over to Android because I'm almost positive I'll never switch back again. I'm terrible. Like, I'm just terrible. The phone to me is just pick up, dial, call, and that's it, and
yeah,
the chat's gonna like go down with a anti-Android, anti-Apple chat. Oh no, I don't want to. Do not start that, please, guys.
Is anyone here on Clubhouse already? Any Clubhouse users in the chat? I'd be curious to see. Yeah, I've just been on it this week, and it's been out for like the whole year, but it's this sort of like but what I like about it is not the secretive people can only invite certain people aspect of it. I like the platform, and I think it's gonna be much better for communication than YouTube, and much better for communication than basically anything, particularly for someone like me who's not a visual teacher. I think for visual teachers, YouTube is going to be is the place to go because you're going to have video. But this platform, it'll be that direct audio communication live in real time instead of like these like live stream type things. So I will not be going anywhere onto that platform. I am on that platform, and I am going to start probably hosting some chats and some things there, but I won't be doing anything less for this channel until I feel like everyone from here is over there type of thing and can get over there. Cause I don't think it's like fair. And this is the best place right now because it's free for everyone and everyone can access it. But I'm intrigued by it because I think that it cuts down on the sort of negatives of the channel while increasing the positives. So thought I would just bring it up to see if anyone knew anything about it.
No. I also want to apologize to the chat because I think we only answered one question in the chat today. I think we just totally went on a financial tangent today. So
guys, any questions? So we're gonna go. Let's do 30 minutes. We will do 30 minutes of Pokemon questions if you guys have them. Unless you guys are all questioned out, and I can scroll up and start reading some questions if people don't have new ones.
Yeah,
I'm sure we got a lot.
So watch out about real quick. Just watch out for buyouts, you guys. I firmly believe, and I do have a lot of reasons, that waffles, those full art trainers, I think they're getting bought out right now. And that's exactly what happened to Roaring Skies Shaman because it was so playable. These buyouts, there's people that bought out all the shamans because the card was going for 200, like 100, 150 to 200. Someone came in or groups came in, wiped out all the full art shamans. I don't know if anybody in the chat remembers that, but the booster boxes for Roaring Sky were going up to $250, $275. Someone came in, or groups came in, bought it out, listed. Guess what happened? Pokemon going, not gonna happen here. Did a massive reprint on Roaring Skies, and I think within 3 days, the prices dropped. Bang, went way down, went fast. And I think Rudy said it. I talked to the Game Capital. He said, I invested so much in Roaring Skies, and now I can't even sell them for $75 a box. Just be very careful. And that's why it's so difficult. And I firmly believe in that. And I don't, were you there when it happened with the full art shamans with Roaring Skies, where the booster box is just like in 3 days went from $250 to like $85?
Um, so I was not yet in the hobby, but it's something that I hear about all the time. And I think it's a really important case study for uh, what Pokemon can do. Although I think we are in a very different time period right now,
Mm-hmm.
where there's just so much more money in modern that it's like it just seems like it's just like endless, right? Like they could reprint it like 3-4 times and everything will be bought up. Like that's the way modern feels right now. But it's definitely something you have to look out for and be worried for. And I don't think what's happening in modern will be sustainable, and Pokemon will eventually meet demand. Um, but yeah, it's interesting as far as like the waifus.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they were underrated, certainly within modern. I own a number of them. I think I like the trainers. The trainers are part of my Pokemon, history. I feel
Mm-hmm.
connections to some of those characters, not just the Pokemon. So I think having cool arts of trainers is fun, and some of the arts are really nice. So I did, I do feel like they were under to a certain extent, but what's going on around them is lots of buyouts and a lot of hype and a lot of price manipulation for sure. So I would just be aware of that if you're engaging in that.
You cut out the last part. I'm so sorry, Jake. I didn't hear you.
Oh, I was just saying that I would just be
Hmm.
aware. If you're
Oh
gonna
yeah,
in that market and buy and sell into that market, I would just be aware that people are doing massive buyouts on them, and that's
they are. They are.
that
And
individuals
most
might not
buyouts don't work. They don't work. And I don't use this S word very often, but I'm gonna use it right now, you guys. They're a scam. I firmly believe it. They do not work. They're almost like a pyramid scam, because they're gonna undercut. They're gonna keep undercutting so many buyouts, and people like a lot of people like who think that these cards are genuinely what they cost. They'll go out and they'll list a price. Someone's gonna always undercut, undercut, and
Yeah,
it's not usually. It does not work that way. And with the shamans, it showed exactly why it didn't work. So,
yeah.
um,
And as
I
as Poke
mhm,
Dynamics, points out, and what you're talking
mhm.
about, the shaman that they reprint the set because of the playability and that more players can get the
Exactly.
card. But
Exactly.
I think we're in an age where I would have guessed that Pokemon is going to start caring
Mhm,
more about collectors from
mhm,
a financial perspective for them. I would
mhm,
guess because there are so many adults coming back and collecting now.
mhm,
And I think that they don't even need to play the game to feel connected to it and buy it and enjoy it.
mhm,
So with that, I wouldn't be surprised if we see more prints of things like Hidden Fates, of these sets that are sort of the collector, big hits. I mean, that's why they made a Hidden Fates 2 and Shining Fates, because they are catering to collectors. They
mhm.
wouldn't make that set if they weren't trying to capitalize on the collector interest in something like Hidden Fates. So I would not use what the Pokemon company has done in the past for any sort of confidence in this time period or in the future, because I think that it's things are unpredictable right now. I wouldn't be shocked at all if they reprinted Evolutions. I mean, it wouldn't like shock, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, how could they do that? I'd be like, I think it'd be an odd, an unnecessary odd choice that would cause a
Mhm.
lot of like, not, a lot of negativity and lack of confidence in the market and that sort of thing, which would potentially hurt Pokemon. And I don't think make them enough money probably to make up for it. Although so many people would love it that it might create enough goodwill that could offset that. But and nothing is off limit. Yeah, nothing is off limits in this time period, in my opinion.
Exactly. And I think just people need to just realize that Pokemon is pretty much a business. They will follow their business model. I believe that they will try. Will they ever accomplish it? I don't know, but they will definitely try to meet demands. And I recently heard that they have more printing centers now, or just trying to get more printing centers. That's what I heard. I think it was Rudy that said that, and a lot of people reach out to me and said, "Hey, that is true," but it's not where I've. I mean, Pokemon haven't announced it yet. From that I don't know if anybody heard that as well. If you can link me the source, that will be great. They are gonna try to meet demand, and I am nervous and I'm pretty excited to see what's going on in the near future of when they do mass just basically print until the printers burn out. That's why I always make a joke about they're gonna print until the printers burned. And so I'm pretty excited to see about that. And nothing will surprise me. You're right. And I someone did ask me if I think that they will probably reprint Special Delivery Pikachu. And I said I would not be surprised if they do, because one, look at how the hype is afterwards, and that's bringing Pokemon in money. And what if they say, hey, you know what? We'll just reprint this again. We'll make this a promo, bring more people in. Not, I mean, would not surprise me at all.
Mm.
Generations, not generations, evolution's been 4 years. Uh, I were you there when um how I recall evolutions is that the hype was there for like 6 months. I remember getting in line for it, and then it died. It died down fast, and people were like, "Oh my god, this is evolutions again." I remember people opening packs and I'm sorry, boxes, and they'll be like, oh, this is evolutions again. And that was me. I would open a box and then see that's evolution. I'll just put the pack to the side. And I think in the storage, I think I have like about 300 packs sitting there somewhere that I just didn't want to open them because I got sick of it really quickly. And here it is. Very surprising. So,
Yeah, there's so much. I mean, it's like
mhm,
Evolutions was a story to me, and I was talking about a lot, and now there's like a million
mhm.
modern boxes going for $1,000, $2,000, 3,000, if you include like things like Flash Fire. So it's it's what's happening right now. Some interesting comments about Rudy
Yeah.
on
And
Rudy's Pokemon.
he's yeah, he's been he commented on one of your videos before, so he definitely watches.
I was
And
honored.
yeah.
No, I was so excited. I literally texted Rafi immediately.
Mhm,
I like geeked out for a second as soon as he commented on one of my
mhm,
videos. And I was, because Rudy was the
mhm,
person who I watched who got me into just like collecting at all. Cause I just
mhm,
I found his channel and he was just like this like weird, like hilarious dude who just like rambled on and on about like nonsense interspersed with like really like interesting,
mhm.
smart, like caring point, seems just like such an empathetic, caring, smart, interesting,
Yeah.
unusual guy. And I just loved his content, and it's what inspired me to feel like collecting
Mhm.
Pokemon as an adult,
Mhm.
would be really fun, and would be awesome to do.
Correct.
So him commenting on one of my videos was definitely a treat for me. I would love to talk with him, but I know he doesn't do interviews. Like I think he's talked with no one like ever. At least that I'm aware of, and he's obviously like friends with people like Tolarian Community College. I don't even think he's been on that channel, which is an amazing channel that does interviews. Maybe he has,
Yeah.
but I wrote back to him on the comment that he said, like, off chance if you ever want to come on the channel, that'd be fantastic, because I would love talking with him.
Yeah.
But
Yes. Yeah. I'm pretty excited to see. I mean, like I said, a little bit nervous because once they try to hit that demand and then the hype dies down and people get out of it, or people are burnt out from so much products, and just basically people are out there doing things again, what will happen? So, uh, if there's, I mean, I'm pretty excited, but no matter what happens in the future, I'll always love Pokemon. I loved it when it was. Uh, I'm gonna make sure I use the right term.
Yeah, I think it's
yeah, when it was not that popular. It's always actually been popular but when it was when I can still buy booster boxes for $85. And I was, and I will love it regardless if it goes up, it goes down. Hopefully not too up, but we'll see. Not too up where it's out of my reach and out of other people's reach where they need to bring in new collectors. And I think Pokemon is very aware of that. And that's it. I have to
I see
say, huh?
Charles wanting me to reach out to the personal Pokédex. I'll take a look.
Yeah. I I have to say you do have a great follower of like a great fan base. I mean, they've for 130 viewers, they've been throughout. How long have we been streaming for? I have no idea, like 2 hours. It's so I do eventually the Super Bowl is going to start. So I do
Yeah.
want to say before I go to you, and of course, want to say final thoughts to the people out there, to Jake, to continue to do this. This is um, actually what helped me continue to do the broadcast and just do live stream. Continue to do that, and I know it has a strain on you because you said that you get negative comments, and so do I. But I stick to what I firmly believe in, and when you talk about this, you have basics and you have facts to bring this up, and continue to do this. Don't let it get in the way. Continue to do what you love, and there's always going to be people out there that will try to bring you down because they have different opinion, but it doesn't mean that they're right. It doesn't mean that or anything, or if you're right. It's just different opinions. As long as you talk about the facts, bring it to people's attention. Um, Continue to do this, and I'm pretty really honored to Sash will be on the live stream, and for the people out there um, who are watching this, I hope for you guys to continue to collect, to be in this hobby. This hobby has bring so much joy into my life personally, and I hope it brings to all the joy into you guys' life because this is great. And without collectors and without new people in this hobby, it will not continue. And always educate your fellow new collectors because I firmly believe there are misguided information out there. And without your help and without you educating them, and they will leave because it's this hobby, it's so expensive right now. And there is a burden just to really, and what they said, to collect them all. To continue to educate your fellow new collectors to work together and yes, be kind, be nice, and of course, right now, be safe. But I always enjoy all the new collectors out there, just old collectors, and um, talk to me. I'm very open. I have my personal Facebook on my live stream description for people to reach out to me personally. I'm a terrible person. I can't do Instagram. I'm a terrible Instagrammer. That's what they say. But when it comes to Facebook, I'm pretty on it because it's easy to navigate. Reach out to me if you have any question. And my biggest advice, and just the last one, is when we talked about investment here and there, um, as somebody that does finance, invest in yourself. I know that's not Pokemon related, but invest in yourself. That investment will pay off. Invest in yourself. So, um, anyways,
Yes. Um, Thank you so much for coming on. Um, really appreciate you having here again. Everyone, please go subscribe um, uh, to PokeGal's channel, and I'm sure we will do other videos on the future and be in contact in the future. Yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I think I'm going to stay on for just another 10 minutes
Okay.
up until the Super Bowl just to kind of close things up here. But thank you so much.
All right, bye, you guys. Take care. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. All righty. All right. So I'm going to do just a kind of close up with you guys right before the Super Bowl. Thank you all so much for hanging out. Was great having PokeGal on today. If you guys have any last minute questions, any last minute topics we didn't talk about, I'm sure there were plenty from earlier on in the video. I can grab a few. I'll kind of just wait just a minute or so, and if someone has a question or something they want to talk about, we'll do that. And if not, then we'll end for today, and we'll be back here next Sunday. One question I have for you guys, if no one has a question, is what did you guys think of my last video? For those of you who have watched it, I've been toying with. I've been toying with. Do I want to start? Making videos where I talk more specifically about cards, or is that kind of undermining the purpose of this channel? So I think the pro of making videos like that is that I'm demonstrating specifically where value is and what makes value for people with specific cards, which I think will help people find value in other cards that I don't talk about. The negative is going to be that people will see that card, people who aren't really deep into the hobby, who didn't do the work and put in the effort to learn about these kind of niche cards, and will do buyouts on them instead of them falling into hands of collectors and people who would really appreciate them, who have been saving up for them and already know about them. So I think that I see both sides of that. There are a lot of cards that I want to talk about. Some of them were in this chat. We're in this chat. You know, we're going to go into. For those who are here at the end, I'll say some of them here. I think that's a good way too of talking a little bit about them for people who really stick to the end of these things. I'm going to talk about the JR Rally cards, Japan Rail cards, which I think are amazing and extremely underrated art. You know, at some point, I'm going to talk about like the Chris Rush legendary Mewtwo at some point. I'm going to talk about cards like the some of the play promo cards that I think are interesting and unique and underknown within the play promos. People I think tend to focus on the gold star play promos and overlook and sort of and like the Mew EX promo, which and the Celebi EX, and kind of overlook like the Rayquaza, the Lugia EX, some of the really nice arts, lots of that sort of stuff. There's going to be a lot of cards like that. All right. So questions about Jake. Do you think there's going to be a Pokemon commercial during the Super Bowl? I heard that there might be from somewhere or someone. I'm not sure. I guess we'll have to see and find out. Bucks or Chiefs? I'm hoping the Bucks. I'm a Tom Brady fan. Who do I think will win? I think the Chiefs probably will win, but you know, we'll see. We'll have to see. Some people saying that they really liked the video. Double-edged sword. Yeah, I see it as a little bit of a double-edged sword. I like all the content. Keep it up. Appreciate that. Matt says that the content here is getting a little bit repetitive. Yeah, that's something that I really want to try to avoid. I think the nature of YouTube is that YouTube content is very repetitive. I actually think that I probably do a pretty good job of keeping things as diverse as possible by bringing on different voices, by bringing on different guests. I try to be very creative. It's part of why I got sick of making just like all those videos all the time, because I do think that very clearly YouTube, the form of YouTube can be very repetitive. It's part of why I like things like Clubhouse, and I'm interested in other sorts of things. The thing about YouTube though, Matt, to think a little bit outside of it, is that there are a lot of people who aren't watching every video, who aren't absorbing every single piece of content. So I think there's a lot of value in each video. Certainly in this 2 to 3 hour talk, there's excellent, value in terms of talking about economics, about how to apply that to Pokemon. Although I might say those things and repeat them throughout various videos, not everyone is going to be here the whole time. I do think that hearing things repetitively though can also help them sink in, and can be comforting and help people along the way as well. So I think that it's something I think about. James Chris says that he disagrees with Matt, that I'm doing a good job being diversified. Yeah, I'm trying. I mean, I think, as much as this platform kind of allows diversity, I think I'm diversifying. I mean, a lot of the biggest YouTube channels do the exact same thing every video and have the exact same format every video. So I think that, to be fair to me, Matt, like I work very hard to kind of diversify information and keep things useful. But there is, to be fair, Matt, there is always going to be, repetitive elements. Brian Kim, yeah, a lot of people saying that the content is that the content isn't repetitive, and that the guests make each one different and each one worth listening to. That's part of my goal of bringing on the guests. The goal of engaging with you guys and having questions is hopefully you guys can bring me new questions. Today we talked about cards that we've never talked about on the stream before, gave some info. I think that hopefully the Patreon thing worked really well in the beginning of the video. And, although we didn't get to chat and we didn't get to questions, and I can try and figure out how to, I think without a guest, we'll answer those questions much quicker. We talked about certain things that we've never talked about or addressed before, which I think is a good thing. Jordan McDaniel says you and Rafi need to collab more. Yeah, I mean, I definitely enjoy talking with Rafi. We hope to maybe do one video together a week eventually, when we can kind of figure out our schedules and get them aligned. Matt says, I really enjoy your viewpoint, so don't take that too harshly. Oh, I didn't. And I'm someone who likes constructive criticism. So, and I agree with you that but really I work quite hard for it not to be repetitive. So, if you feel like something's repetitive, if you want to reach out to me on Instagram in a kind way and come up with some ideas of ways to make things more interesting, that would be great. Adam Cervantes says, also upgrade the internet. Yeah, our internet is already upgraded. I live on an island now. We were supposed to have really good internet. Today, there's a snowstorm and the power went out. That's going to happen. As far as the internet coming in and out once in a while, I don't know why it's doing that. I've had the Comcast over to my house multiple times to try and figure it out. Jody says, get a better camera. Yeah. So a friend of the channel has bought me a camera that should be coming in the mail at some point, in the next couple of weeks. So I will definitely attach that web camera. So we will have that for these videos. Kenny L says, what painting is behind me? So that is a painting by an amazing artist named Rez Williams, who is a Martha's Vineyard artist who paints a lot of boats and water scenes. And because the camera's not that great, it's a little bit hard to see it, but it's like, I love that painting. I think it's just like so soothing, and I've always really loved water. I live on an island now, and there's something about the water that I've always just found like so soothing and calming. CJ Duwork says, yeah, hardwiring the Ethernet cable into the computer. Yeah, I've talked to, that's been suggested a few times. I'm not sure exactly how to do that or how I'm going to do that with this laptop that I use. I can look it up and look into it. T. Johnson says, Jake, thanks for bringing in collectors rather than investors in the live streams. Yes, I definitely want it to be a mix, definite mix. But I'm not going to bring anyone here who doesn't care about Pokemon and care about the community, and that I feel like isn't well intentioned. Although I do think businesses are an important, of the Pokemon community. There were some trolls today. Okay, yeah. I mean, I think we've been pretty good with trolls, but I guess next week I will start making mods again to clean up the chat a bit. I like just like letting people speak their mind, and even like letting some trolling, because people are just going to troll. But yeah, if it becomes like, particularly when they say a lot of things over and over again, it can become distracting and take away from the content for the rest of us. I'm not trying to create just like a perfectly positive, microcosm where we all like each other all the time, though. So it's a balancing act. T. Johnson says you bring a girl on and you get trolls. I'll have to go back and read. So I was so busy with trying to figure out like my Zoom and other things that I wasn't looking at the chat a lot at times. And so I'll take a look back and see what trolls were saying. And I apologize to everyone here, and I apologize to PokeGal, and I'll let her know that sorry she had to deal with that. Genie Us Graphic says, are you only doing interviews with guests on Pokemon, or willing to do other TCG content creators? So I want to do other TCG content creators too. I just don't know. I think the problem, so here's the issue with the channel. So I love Rafi's Star Wars videos, but other people, like, not enough people watch them, really. Should we start a second channel where we talk about other TCGs for people who are interested in more of that? Because the reality, unfortunately, of the algorithm, and I don't like to think about the algorithm, I wish this wasn't a real thing, but every time a video doesn't get a lot of views, the algorithm remembers that, and then for the next video they don't send it out to as many people. So every time we do videos, and we do a lot of videos that we know aren't going to do well just because we want to make them, we believe in them, every time we do that, it hurts the growth of the channel. And listen, our main goal is not to grow the channel, but if we grow the channel, we will have more influence on the space. We'll meet more people. We'll grow the community. We'll have a bigger voice. So it creates this dilemma of, I'd like to do more Dragon Ball Z. I'd like to do other things, but most people are here and looking for the Pokemon content. So, I'm not exactly sure what the solution is to that. Vincent's, there's just no need for people being consistently rude. Yeah, I don't know. Who knows what's going on with people, or why people do that. And I'll definitely take a look back through the chat later and see how rude people were being or what people were doing. And again, I apologize. Jody Mitama says, maybe that could be a good idea to start a second channel. I'm subscribed to this channel for the Pokemon content. I'm not sub to Alpha Investments because like 2% of his videos are Pokemon related. Yeah. It could be something that we do. Again, it's like a time thing. I'm already I feel like I'm so stretched thin, and I want to start doing Clubhouse, because I hope you guys can get onto Clubhouse eventually, because I just think Clubhouse is honestly better than this right now, in terms of being able to interact and it not being like all about me. It's a lot more it's a much more communal experience where we all have an even voice and we're all debating, rather than it feeling like there's one YouTuber and people are like fighting for my attention or fighting to engage with me. I think that isn't as good. Like, I think Clubhouse is super interesting for that reason. Kenny Lay says he needs to be invited to Clubhouse. Yeah, I know. Everyone will get there. They'll open it up eventually. I just wanted to talk about it today because I think it's exciting. Sunny Jim says the Lego video was a little off-putting, respectfully. Why was it off-putting for you, Sunny? I'm curious. Rafi's Lego video. Was the information not accurate, or did you disagree with it, or did you just not do you not like Lego? I'm not a little confused. For me, I think because I love collecting so much, I am not into Lego or Star Wars particularly, but I love watching those videos because I'm just a knowledge geek and a history geek and a finance investing geek. And so I love learning about all the other collectibles. I think part of what has made me a successful Pokemon investor, successful Pokemon collectors, because I have looked at all these markets and I have such a genuine interest in understanding markets. Ryan Azera says, thank you for providing your knowledge of this hobby and bringing value. Many appreciate the thoughtful conversations around collecting this Pokemon hobby. Happy Sunday. I appreciate that. Thank you for the kind comment. Genius Graphics says, I feel like I'm different. I watch Rudy and have never purchased Magic cards. I just like his insight. Yeah, that's how I feel too. So for me, like listening to Rafi talk about that stuff, I like it because I like listening to his insight and the way he thinks. That's the way that I am too. And Radazor says the same. So I think it's interesting. I think it depends too. Like, we're really a finance investing channel that's talking about it through our love of Pokemon. And so if you don't really have a love or an interest in the finance investing side, the channel might get a bit boring or just be a little bit uninteresting. Although I think as a collector, as a pure collector, even if you're not interested in the money part, it's still important for you because in order to get the cards you want or build the collection you want, it becomes important. I think Rudy's channel and my channel, are very similar in terms of what they're really about. They're about our love of collecting, investing, finance, cards, history. I think him and I are very, very similar in that way. Radazor says, I started watching Rudy in 2016 and I never owned a single Magic card. Yeah, I'm the exact same way. TCG, Jamie Chris VA says, Jake, thoughts on Yu-Gi-Oh? Are you a fan? So I'm a fan of the anime. I never got interested or involved in the card game or the card world. I know that Rafi did. Excuse me. Rafi played a bit and collected a little bit. But I do follow the Yu-Gi-Oh market a little bit just because I think it's important. And I did collect and got decently into collecting the Bandai Yu-Gi-Oh, like the pre-Konami TCG cards, because I'm just a sucker for that, like kind of like old Japanese, interesting, unique art. TCG Authority says, collecting or chasing anything specific at the moment. I'm still working on DBZ, although DBZ got expensive. So now I'm like kind of cooling off of it a little bit, just like I did with Harry Potter. What am I collecting? I'm mainly just looking for deals. I'm buying little bits here and there. I also am saving money for some other things and putting money into other things at the moment too, outside of collectibles. But I'm always sort of on the lookout for cards that I'm specifically looking for and would be willing to spend a lot of money for very specific trophy cards, world promo cards. Always looking for some set cards that I'm still kind of missing in my sets for decent prices. Rainy Day Collectibles, are you seeing the watch market at the moment? I'm familiar with it. I don't know if it radically changed like this month or this week, but I know that it's skyrocketed and become very valuable. Is it plummeting now, or what's happening there? You can let me know. So I'm not following it right at the moment. Matt says you should invest into the upgrades that can take the product to the next level. I would always have the questions you take in more pre-orchestrated. Yeah. So I think that this channel isn't for everyone. I think that it would be better, if I had a better camp. First of all, people who are listening for the first time or who just come by for 5 minutes and don't necessarily know that I have one of the biggest collections in the world, don't necessarily know that I've been really successful in investing and collecting, don't necessarily know that I have a ton of knowledge and study all these other collecting hobbies, don't necessarily know that I'm not a business and that I'm really trying to look out for people and that I give both sides of the argument and that I try to be empathetic and caring and that I feel very strongly about helping people who are watching. You're not going to know that in 5, 10, 20, 30 minutes of watching me. What you are going to know is that I have very poor camera quality and things might seem a little disorganized. So in that sense, I agree with you that I'm losing, and Pat Flynn made this, talk to me about this too in our interview. It's like there are a lot of people who are going to take one look at this channel and leave kind of immediately because it doesn't feel trustworthy or doesn't feel valuable because the production value isn't there. I'm also, I can be very, quite scatterbrained. It's also part of who I am. And I have a lot of things going on right now. This is not my job. This is not my career. Most of the content creators, if not all of the content creators you guys watch, this is their major thing or the major thing that they do. And so there's a lot more, I think they take it, they need to have a certain level of professionalism and focus on building their channel, because if they don't make enough money. For me, this is still, a passion project. And I did open the Patreon to get some money back from the channel, but ultimately that's still where I'm at with it. Although if that continues to shift over time, I would have to continue to update it and figure out how to make it better. Pat Meister says, I like the repetition to keep me level-headed when I get my FOMO. Yeah. Listen, I don't watch all of any content creators' content because it's repetitive, so, and that's okay. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't watch every Rudy video, even though I love Rudy. I tend to watch ones that seem kind of more interesting to me. These lives I would find very interesting because you never know what we're going to talk about in the live. You never know what someone's going to ask, and you can actually ask me questions and engage with me. So I would imagine they're always have the potential to be interesting. And if you're not finding it interesting, ask an interesting question. You know what I mean? Like, make it interesting. I promise you, I have a lot of knowledge and I could, and there's probably something that someone hasn't asked me yet that if someone comes up with that question, we could talk about, and it could become interesting or become not repetitive. Juliana says, Rudy got me into finance in general in 2017. Let's see here. T. Johnson says, bye, Jake, watching Super Bowl, and please get more mods, especially when you bring in a girl. Will do. I'm sorry if people were rude. Enjoy the Super Bowl. I'm gonna end pretty soon too. I'm impressed though. People are hanging in. We still got 141 viewers. And I'm kind of having fun. And honestly, guys, like, I'm not that into the Super Bowl this year, just personally. But I will watch it. And my girlfriend doesn't care about it either. So we're gonna probably like watch it and watch the commercials and just kind of hang out. Part of what I love the Super Bowl is like having a Super Bowl party and hanging out with other people. And it's a bummer that we can't do that this year and see friends. I miss seeing friends. Really, really do. Vince says favorite evolution. Favorite evolution is, gosh, I don't even know if I have a favorite evolution. I like a lot of them. Okay, of the first 3 original Vaporeon, with Jolteon being a close second. Then I would say probably Umbreon. And then I really like Glaceon. Glaceon might be my favorite in terms of the look of any of them. I love the Glaceon level X card. That might be one of my favorite, if not my favorite, like evolution card in terms of just like purely the way it looks. Pokedynamics says Konami did a lot of reprints, which hurt the Yu-Gi-Oh collectability, from my understanding. Yeah, they did a lot of reprints of those original arts. Although Pokemon has done a ton of reprints of the original base set too. So, Bino says, will vintage prices go up after the next Logan Paul opening? I do not know. Would not surprise me if it does. One thing that I think is a bit more interesting of a point is that even if new people don't come into the hobby with Logan Paul this time, the prices can still go up because everyone's psychology in the hobby changes. Hobbies are built, and money is built on narratives, particularly in the short term. So if there's a narrative that Logan Paul is going to make the hobby go up again, people are going to start being more bullish because they believe that narrative and think that narrative might happen. Then people will start buying. Then what happens is the prices go up. Then people say, oh, that narrative is true. And then they buy more and more and more, and it races up away from whatever the actual valuation of that product is based on how much people actually want it instead of just trying to make money. Okay. So even if the fundamentals aren't shaped by Logan Paul coming back in, fundamentals being that there are more people, there's more awareness now being put on the hobby, it can still have an effect just from that psychological level. Hope that makes sense to people. Jamie Crisvier says, Jake, there's a couple DBZ trophy cards. Are you interested in those? I am. So I own a few DBZ trophy cards. I own the most valuable DBZ trophy card that is kind of like a fairly mass-produced trophy. I do not own the trophy card that there's said to only be 3 of in the world, or I think that there might be more, but I own, the most expensive trophy card I own in DBZ. I have a BGS 8.5 version of it, and it's, I haven't seen any that in that good of condition. So, probably is worth, I think in kind of meh condition, it's worth probably at this point $1,500 to $2,000 easy. I think my 8.5 BGS is probably worth, I don't know, $5,000, $4,000, $3,000 to $5,000 maybe. Omnipoke says, Joe says, has every question been Logan Paul crystal ball? No, actually, we haven't talked too much about Logan Paul, in part because like PokeGal and I just talked for a long time about a lot of things and have only sort of been getting into questions towards the end. Proverb says, I remember I would watch his videos and just think, well, Magic is like a more mature Pokemon. That's an oversimplification and not a one-to-one, but it had me captivated. Love his videos. Nostalgia RC says, with all the gains you have made with your collection, would you risk buying a Logan Paul pack for the exposure? It's just, I'm not interested. First of all, the way that I think actually is the best way. So it's a mix. So here's one of my answers. The reason why we have 141 people watching this whole time, even though it's been 3 hours and it's the Super Bowl, is because we have low camera quality here, because I have not hyped up the channel, because I have not done clickbaity title videos that have brought in people for one video and then left. When you build a channel or a community of people who are like-minded and interested in value and content, and you build around that instead of hyping yourself up for exposure, you build a base of people who are committed and enjoy what you do. Now, there is an argument to be made that if I went on that, a lot more people would know about me, and then a lot more people who would be interested in this and stick around for hours to hang out and talk Pokemon, would come and join that. But we would also get tons of people who have all sorts of, wanting certain content, wanting to manipulate prices, wanting to use this channel for other gains, like all sorts of things. So I find that is a bit negative, and that would be a bit of a negative critical side effect. I also think that for me personally, because I don't need the money, there's something there might be an ego pride thing too, and just like, just building it up with my personality, who I actually am. I may never be the most popular, most well-liked person. I have never been that in my life, but there's something to be said, I think, about trying to do something with your own personality in your own way and not taking those types of shortcuts to get massive attention. Although, as I said, I think that there is something in that isn't a shortcut, which is when more people discover you and whatever, there will be more people within that discovery that will actually like you and want to engage in the channel. All right, so I'm going to do a few more minutes. Let's see. GeorgeBot says, Jake, what is your favorite reverse hollow style of the original Nintendo EX era? Probably the Here Comes Team Rocket set. I think they're really cool. Let's see. Any last minute questions here? Oh, there's some questions coming in. Charles Colt says, you said yesterday on Royalty Gaming that you were sure you were going to talk about Jake Paul and the 6th edition boxes he bought. So Logan Paul. Yeah, so we talked, so I mean, my feelings on Logan, just very briefly, I think I've mentioned it in a few other places, but I think he's what do I want to say about him? I don't know. I've kind of answered it in other places. I think he's really smart businessman. I think that he really enjoys Pokemon and likes Pokemon. I think that this auction, the most interesting part, and let's talk about this. Can you guys hear me? My mic keeps having problems. Okay, they say you can hear me. It says that the mic's no longer working, but I guess you guys can hear me. So, all right, to end it today, I'm just going to talk about Logan Paul, then we're going to end it because we have been going for a while. So, the thing that I think will be really interesting to watch is the auctions. The auctions are going to be fascinating. There's such interesting psychology at work. What will be fascinating is if lots of influencers bid that up really high because they so value the spot on his live stream, because they think that it's going to first of all, they'll be able to make a video on it. They'll be able to make, a couple videos on it, both getting the cards, watching Logan. They'll be able to make the video of them watching Logan open the pack. Then they'll be able to make the react video, which will do well. Then they'll be able to make the video on when they receive the cards from Logan with Logan in the video. And then they'll be able to make a video on like a PSA return from that card whenever it comes back with that new PSA label, all of which will likely get a huge amount of views, will bring different viewership into their channels, potentially grow their brand and make them a lot more money, particularly for these very big YouTubers and streamers. And because of that, it builds in so much added value for a lot of these guys. Not to mention that it's fun to probably be a part of, historical to be a part of. And these guys have so much money that even if they do lose money or overspend, they can afford it. So that type of environment creates a ton of artificiality around the prices. And when I say artificiality, I mean not artificiality around Logan's booster box, but around any other booster box or any booster box that Logan is involved in, or lesser booster boxes. But what happens is people see huge prices on those things, and then they say everything should be higher because that, and it's, but really that thing is higher because of all of those non-Pokemon related reasons, non-product related reasons. And I think most people get that, but even if you intellectually get these things, emotionally, when you see new high prices for things, it has an impact on how you view the rest of the market. And it makes you more confident or view other things as cheap or undervalued. And that pushes things up. So we'll see how all that goes. Matt says he's predicting 16 to 18K per pack. Yeah, I have no idea. 16 to 18K per pack seems reasonable. I'm not sure what they're going for right now. What is that going to put us at? That's like, 16, let's say, times 36, $567,000. What did he buy them for? Like an average of like $350,000 each. So he's literally just netting over $200,000 on that. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, talk about a phenomenal business model and way to make money, be an influencer. I mean, it's no wonder why all these kids today want to be influencers and have brands and why networking has become so important and all that, and on social media and all this stuff. It's really amazing. So I want to thank you all so much for watching today. I'm going to end it here. We had a long, full stream today. I hope you guys really enjoyed it and got value from it. Enjoyed hanging out with you all. If you are watching the Super Bowl, have fun. And I will talk to you all and see you all next Sunday.